Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Trying to get lined up here. They'll fake it to him. Brewer rolling, throwing, caught, touchdown. Sims again.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
2nd and 10, handoff. There's Squirrel on the move inside the 20. That speed inside the 10. Touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
From the 2, the snap, Gaither fumbles the snap, gets away, throws the ball in the end zone. He's got a man there. Touchdown! Touchdown! Conley wins the game.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, we've got, so much to get to it. A packed lineup of guests. Dave Aranda, Dee Richards, Kim Mulkey, March Kevin Hoffman, Greg Jacobs of Crawford, Will Phipps, Waco Sports Commission. Also our high school players of the week. Phil Bennett, actually from Hawaii today. He's at practice watching his son's team practice. And J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback and football analyst on the broadcast, will join us as well today. We will hear from Dave Aranda, the one-on-one with me at 4. And parts of that here in just a minute. Lines are open. Text and calls, 254-339-1122. We can spend a lot of today looking at the debacle and what happened, the collapse in the first half of Baylor and TCU, and, of course, last night the Cowboys lost. So where do you want to start? Where do you want to start with this team at Baylor, 1-3 and on the road against Iowa State, who frothing at the mouth after the loss in Waco a year ago?
I'm going to put it in just one thing. Look, every issue that you want to talk about, whether it's Charlie, the play calling, the way that the defense kind of responded on Saturday, all traces back to one major issue that has to get better or this more will continue, is the offensive line is really bad. Xavier Newman had maybe the worst game I've ever seen an offensive lineman play the other day, and he had it at 2 different positions, which is really hard to do. And they kept shuffling guys in and out. There was no continuity. If continuity is the goal, then you don't shuffle guys in and out. It makes me think that they don't know what their best 5 is yet, which is understandable given the lack of practice that they've had. But 4 games into the season, it's not something you want to hear.
Yeah, that was a really tough game to watch on Saturday. And even though they've had their moments where maybe they've lost a game, but they at least show a little fight towards the end, you can come out of it and say, like, okay, at least they showed a little something. But that was so bad in the first half and really the first 3 quarters, quite frankly, that I don't care about the comeback at the end. All that did and all that told me was they could be 4-0 right now. They could very well, you can make an argument for why this team should be 4-0 right now. And instead they're 1-3. And a lot of it falls to the same mistakes that have, resulted in each and every loss this season. And on Saturday, it was an entire team lack of effort in a way for 3 quarters. I mean, I think it became very apparent early on between the Jalen Petrie ejection, which was a big blow, and just the feeling of, all right, we're down 7-0 again. Our offense has already gone 3 and out, and then they give up a punt return touchdown. We're down 14-0. And after that, I think the defense just kind of quit, or they kind of lost their focus and kind of lost their motivation and their desire. So, you talked about breaking point a couple weeks back, and I sort of dismissed that because I just felt like, hey, you're out there to play. But obviously there was a lot of things in play behind the scenes, and then the stuff last week, and I felt like everything just kind of came to a head in the first and second quarter for this team. And the issues have never been more apparent. I mean, we've had round and round conversations about, is it more the O-line, or is it Charlie Brewer, or is it the coaching, or is it this? It's coaching, it's Charlie, it's the O-line, it's everything. It's everything is resulting in what you saw Saturday at least, because the O-line was not good. Charlie was not very good until late in that game. And, luckily there were some sparks. Yusuf Terry had a nice little game. Craig Williams had a nice little game. And they had a chance, but, this coming back at the end after not doing anything for 3 quarters, that's why you're 1-3.
Well, if you think about it, 4 drives into the game, the defense got torched on a drive, the second drive of the game by TCU. The offense went 3 and out immediately. And I think Brewer might have even, I don't know if he was sacked in the first series or not, doesn't matter. They had nothing. And then you allow a special teams play. So your offense, defense, and special teams basically failed in the first 4 series of the game.
Yeah.
And so you're not good enough to do any of that sometimes throughout the game. You're going to have days when you woke up on the wrong side of the whatever you want to call it. But that was in the first half as bad as anything we saw in 2017. And it also might have been one of the worst halves of Baylor football ever. And it's unfortunate because you know what? It's a loss. They're 1-3. They play at Iowa State and in Lubbock, 2 teams that hate Baylor because of games last year. Remember some of the stuff that occurred, the sun whatever barrier, and then Kirby Hocutt getting fined because of the butt fumble. This team right now, I don't know if they've hit rock bottom, but if they haven't, then God knows what rock bottom might be. Now, bottom line is that you made a comment, the coaching staff. Dave Aranda, I spoke with him at length today. I tried to ask every possible question based on the time I have, and thanks to Taylor Bryan, who just dropped by today to the studio to pick up some great product that we have here. But I tried to ask him about everything. I saw this for the first time. Well, the team takes on the personality of their head coach. I understand where you're coming from because in the first half it seemed like a team that was very lethargic. I asked Dave Aranda about that. I asked him about, I know you have belief in Charlie Brewer, and I'm one of those guys that does too, despite even some of the things that I've seen. So what does that mean about your other guys? Where are they? And Craig, you asked me to ask that. Paul, you asked me to talk about the offensive line and shuffling. Do they know who their 5 best are? All of that. And so that's at 4, and we're going to hear a little bit about that as well. But there was also an interesting backstory. At the end of the game, Dave Aranda apologized flat out to his football team. Just flat out said, I'm sorry. I apologize. Probably for everything, knowing him. I don't know how many other coaches. I'm sure some have done that. He's learning this thing on the fly under some severe circumstances, but he apologized. And then one of the stories last week was Treston Ebner. I know that Ashley had a note about it might have also been a Terrell Bernard, but I do know for a fact, I asked Dave Aranda, did you apologize to your football team after the game?
Did you apologize to the team in the post game? And whether you did or not, what did it mean to you when Treston Ebner stood up or said, wait a minute, Coach, we are the ones that need to apologize to you?
Well, I think, accountability is big. I think the ownership, when you're able to take ownership, you're able to see your part, the role that you play in the big picture. And a lot of times, you're working on little details, so there's a little conversation or there's a little decision, and then it builds to bigger things. And so there's always ownership in there, and so I think, as you know, kind of, the heartbeat of your team, and the characteristics of your staff and your team, you're able to learn and apply better methods, better ideas, and I feel like this was one of them. But it means a lot that that Eb and just the rest of the guys they're owning it, and so many guys that are all the way in, and so I definitely appreciate that, and it gives me a lot of. It gives me a lot of incentive to get out there, today, for example, and do it better.
Does the fact that it was Ebner after the week that he had and you had and the team had, does that make it even more special?
It does. I think, you just look at the performance that he had, and just, you don't have that type of, the performance is probably not even the right word, just the effort that he had. You don't have that type of effort without a real strong care factor for thinking of people out, other than yourself, and so it means a lot.
So that's Dave Aranda on the question about after the game, his post-game apology to the team, and then also Treston Ebner getting up and saying what he said. Let's go to the calls, 254-339-1122. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalino. We have CJ and Armstrong here today running the mothership on SicEm365 Radio. The text line's open. Some of you have already asked questions, and we'll try to address them as well.
T-Rex, you're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. I apologize. My voice is still a little raspy after Saturday. A lot of things had to be said during that game, so hopefully it's rested enough. But anyways, I don't even want to really talk about the game itself or even the upcoming game necessarily. I just have a message for Baylor Nation. I don't personally recall ever signing any kind of contingency agreement that said Baylor has to win every single football game and do it the way we want for me to show up to the games and then buy tickets, support them, or even just watch it on TV or whatever your support ends up being. So to all those fans out there who are mad and saying they're not going to show up anymore, they're not going to watch any more games, I don't know about you, but I can't seem to find that. I looked through my file folder this morning. I can't find my copy of any contingency agreement, so I must have lost it. So I'm going to be in Ames on Saturday. But if anybody else has any doubt on whether or not they should support this team, the second that you give up is the second that we don't win another game. So unless you can CC me on your email that has that contingency agreement, you just need to shut up and show up and get to the games if you can, watch it on TV, whatever that case is, because this team needs your support. You can be pissed off. You can be mad. Hell, I wish we were undefeated every year. But guess what? We're 1-3. It is what it is. Just show up and support the team. You know what? It's about more than the victory every time. I don't put my happiness in the world, in life on whether or not we win a football game. Obviously, Saturdays are better if we win. But if we don't, so be it. It sucks. But this team deserves every amount of support you can get. So unless you can prove to me that they have to win for you to be a fan, shut the hell up and go support them. That's all I got to say.
T-Rex, thanks for your call, and I know you've traveled and followed them all over the country, and we appreciate you as well. Fans have a right to be opinionated, have a right to do all the things you mentioned. In the end, it does seem as if that there is a lot of concern. At the same time, in the end, most everybody that is complaining or whatever, or threatening or saying whatever they say, I still think that they do bleed whatever color it is of their favorite football team.
Right. There's certainly just people that are frustrated. And T-Rex, great call. Definitely appreciate it, and definitely appreciate your perspective because you are somebody that, regardless of the records, you'll be out there supporting. And I think right now this football team and these players and these staff members need this support more than ever. I think when you're facing this type of adversity is when you would rather have the emotional support more so than when you're winning. And yeah, it's easier when you're winning and everything's great. There's no negatives. But when you have all these negatives, the easiest thing to do is to not support and to not be around. And that's when you need it the most. And so I think what you're probably seeing is in some cases the same small handful of people who just do that all the time and always expect perfect seasons, even though those never happen. And those are the typical cry wolf type of people who will be back as soon as they win a couple of games in a row. You just got to identify those people and know that. But there are just a lot of people who are frustrated, and I get it, man, because that first half was so bad.
Yeah.
That was so bad. And, you got to there's already people wondering about Dave Aranda, and I'm like, it's so hard to make a judgment off of this year. But I get it, and at the same time, turn that frustration into just support. Doesn't mean you have to believe they're going to win every game, or doesn't mean you have to like everything that you see, but if you can find it in yourself, that's what Treston Ebner and Charlie Brewer and those guys need more than anything right now.
All right.
Give it a second on Matt. We lost
Matt,
the
we'll be
connection
back
real quick,
to you. Text line is also available. Daniel, I believe that – go ahead, Paul.
I'm going to call it preemptively the Jerry Jones effect, and here's why I call it that. Every Cowboys fan that says they'll never cheer for the Cowboys again as long as Jerry Jones owns them, if and when he ever manages to win another Super Bowl there, if and when that happens, and I don't know if it will, but if it does, they'll be like, been there since 1968, never left. I mean, that's just how it is.
No, that's just, you're right. And there, it's so much easier now to express your opinion. I had a guy today reach out to me after I had mentioned a couple of things from Aranda after the one-on-one, and he was his name was guy at a laptop computer, or a guy sitting at my laptop. And that's okay. That's your name. That's your name. You don't have to have your name on it like we do. That's fine. You have a right to be frustrated. Again, I thought Saturday in the first half was as bad as it could possibly get. Maybe that was rock bottom. At least you hope it is, because if it's more than that, you never know what's going to be the case.
I mean, what would be 70-0 in the first half?
The fact that it's TCU, the fact that we had heard, in fact, Dave Aranda does address this in the interview about he thought that they had, in fact, across the board, coaches, players, everyone thought that their practice Tuesday was fantastic. That wasn't lip service, but that doesn't mean, and I said this a couple of times, you have to carry that over all the way into the weekend. And I do bring that up to him as well. Matt in D.C., good afternoon. Your call on SicEm365 Radio.
I think this is a different Matt.
All right,
now.
go ahead. Matt, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys?
We're doing well.
Matt. I just wanted to ask about that game. And, you know, a lot of the play calling was odd to me in the first half. It seemed like they were just, you know, like, or in the second half too, but the first half it was like they'd do a bunch of stupid plays and they wouldn't get any yards, and it was like Larry Fedora or the offensive staff wouldn't learn from it. What do you guys think about that? I'm not trying to, you know, throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I'm just saying, you know, it's crazy.
We don't get a chance to visit with any of the assistant coaches like we've done in the past. And that's, you know, everyone has their own, they're not the only school that does that. But we can't ask Larry Fedora or George Munoz or whoever.
The last time we talked to Larry Fedora was probably like May.
Yeah.
Somewhere
and
around
at least
there.
we had that opportunity. And they were, of course, trying to get to know them and vice versa. But there are some people on staff at times you feel like you could even ask just a simple question, but it's kind of you know, locked down. And there are other staffs that are like that as well. Baylor's not the first. We've been spoiled about the fact that we could basically text or call an assistant coach whenever we wanted, so we can't really answer that. I tried to get into that a little bit, but you're right. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme and a reason. And is it because they don't know either, or they don't have what they need to run what they want? But a good coach takes what you have and you find a way to make whatever's best for that, what you have, work. Sometimes you're just not good enough no matter what you do.
I mean, it was puzzling to me. It was very puzzling to me. I thought for sure they were going to come out of the gates on the first offensive drive and try to go some tempo, try to take advantage of these great practices they had this week, take advantage of the time away. And it just was the same old. I mean, it was the exact same thing we've seen. 3 and out. No yardage gained, you know, and just throughout the entire first half, look, the offensive line was a major, major issue. I mean, it was a major issue, but Charlie was not very good in the first half. He had some very inaccurate throws that I think if you did have a different quarterback in there, potentially that quarterback makes those throws. A couple of the deep balls, you know, we were talking about the deep ball. Well, there's a couple opportunities that they had that if the throw's a little bit stronger, then maybe they're able to convert there. But instead, it's, you know, just too short. And the receivers haven't – I think there was a Yusuf Terry play where he had to, like – I think it was Yusuf, had to sit there and just wait on the ball, and then it gets broken up or whatever. And so, I mean, it was across the board because the defense wasn't playing well either, and special teams, you know, had the punt return touchdown that they had given up. So, you know, offensively, I don't know how you go into the last week and run the same thing that was clearly not working in all the previous games. And then in the second half, all of a sudden it's like, hey, tempo works, and here we are. And they look like a completely different football team. So if they don't come out with tempo this weekend, and I know Iowa State will have something to say about it, but if we don't see a different start from this team, then, I mean, what are you even doing?
There's also a chance that the game was Saturday, this is Monday, and we can sit there and rehash it all, which is good. That's what we're here for, to look at different parts of it, break it down in our own way, because we're not a part of the postgame. JD and also Drake are a part of that. So we want to get your feedback on how you feel. It could be the text, it could be the calls. It's healthy. It's healthy to look back at it. I didn't understand how they started either on offense. Hell, I didn't like how they started on defense either. For a team that was supposed to be emotionally charged, they all looked like a flat line across the board. And that's when you let a punt get returned where he's never touched. Not even close. All right, Paul, back to the calls.
Yeah, Matt in D.C., thanks for calling us back here on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. How's it going?
Good.
Just three main things. The first one, I think we're still seeing the thing with Charlie, and I'm not sure if the scheme fits to what he does best or what even all the players do. I think the seniors have played in a different scheme the last 3 years that played them to the best ability. And I think maybe if we change up the scheme, I know we can't change the whole offense in the middle of the season, but we do need to go up tempo, change it up, and fit the scheme to the players. Second of all, the last 4 games have just confused me because I remember even in the 1-win season in 2017, we always showed up pissed off, ready to play. every game, even when we were playing Oklahoma, and all these seniors were freshmen there. So it's the same guys. So my question is, how do you not wake up pissed off, ready to play against your arch rival? One of the main reasons you come at Baylor, it's Baylor TCU. You played them over 100 times. How do you just come out lackluster? I mean, I can deal with, blown coverage or something, but I did not see any effort until that second half. And then I hear that it takes Garrett McGuire. I love the guy, but it takes a halftime speech from him to get you fired up when you're playing TCU. You're not playing like McNeese State or like some directional college from like North Dakota. Like, it's time to, wake up pissed off, ready to play. I mean, that's not even on the coaches. That's your own attitude. Get in there and play. The third, and I always want to end on a good note. Dave Aranda coached at Wisconsin. Wisconsin, perennial power. He coached at LSU, perennial power. He's seen what it takes to win. So luckily we do have a coach that was used to being on teams and went to Rose Bowls. LSU just came off a national title. So he knows what it's going to take to get there. So that's the good thing. With everything going bad, he knows what we got to do, and he's just going to need more time in practice.
Great stuff. Appreciate the call, Matt. Back to back with Matt, also T-Rex as well.
He's right about the passion. I mean, there was none of it. And
that's not on just the personality of your coach, because I heard that and I discussed that with Coach Aranda. You're right. You got to have inner circle soul of your team be able to do that.
Yeah, well, and a couple of people were very quick, I saw, to say, well, it must have been all the issues this week in the locker room or whatever. And I thought maybe initially, maybe so, but by the end of the game, no, I don't think it was that at all. I don't know what it was. But I don't think it was that, because it doesn't explain the completely different appearance from the first half to the second half. I feel like if it was that lingering, that beat down in the first half would have just continued on, and some Garrett McGuire speech isn't going to suddenly turn everybody's opinion on that. So I feel like that was, just people trying to rehash something. But, ultimately I'm puzzled. And I had the same thought myself about, is it the personality of the head coach? Is it, what needs to be done? But you would think that if it was even that somebody on staff would say something about like, hey, let's get fired up, and this is how we did it last year, or just, I don't know. It's puzzling to me.
That is as much a problem as the X's and O's, and they all tie together. You get off to a quick start, then maybe somebody forces a turnover, a ball's popped in the air, and your whole body language changes and what. Let's try to do rapid fire on a couple of things, and I know we got maybe another call, but here's from Daniel. Do you think Aranda will have a quick hook with Charlie if Baylor has another disastrous start Saturday? I think you're closer to that, but I don't know how much closer. I tried to address that with Dave, Coach Aranda, in the interview about if Charlie is the guy, if you have all the belief in him, and I just mentioned this, then where is everybody else? And he kind of explains Bohannon and then also Jacob Zeno and where they are or where they are progressing.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, you can
rapid
pull
fire.
Them. You can pull them, but again, there's a reason, because they had every reason, the easy justification, just without even his play. If you take his play out of it, the poor kid's getting battered. Let's get him out of there for a second. They had every reason, and they didn't. They still didn't.
Yeah, the reason why I asked you to ask that question to Dave Aranda is because everybody's like, well, where's Zeno? Where's this? And plus, I just want an update on the players, because we haven't heard about these guys, nor have we seen them play at all, other than Bohannon on a couple of snaps. But yeah, I'm interested to hear where his thoughts are on those other three guys. But that was unbelievably just kind of crazy to me how just lifeless it all was.
It really was, and this is from the 214. It seemed to me that we had little or no fight in the first half. Puzzling. I like Aranda. Think he'll have great success at Baylor, though not on that train. Charlie particularly seemed slow, decisions physically, bad throws way off. I was glad to see them at least fight in the second half. You know what good teams do? They start well, finish well. Doesn't mean they're not bumps in the road, but bad teams are ones that you make the score look closer than the game really was. Although they had a drive and they were only down at the time, what was it, 8, 10, 12 points.
If Kalen Barnes doesn't have a cast on his hand, that game gets really interesting, because that's a pick six. But to Paul's point,
when you're not making plays, you're not making plays, and that's the kind of thing that goes against you, not with you.
But to Paul's point, if second quarter-ish, especially mid to late second quarter, and then even early third quarter, if you aren't going to pull him at that point, then when are you ever going to pull him?
And I saw that, drive 1, drive 2, drive 7, 8, 12, whatever. I agree.
Three and out.
And so I try to address that with him as well. 254-339-1122. The 817. Here's the issue. I'm a loyal alum emotionally invested in every game, but we have a team with most of the same offensive starters that went 11-3 now can't function most of the game. Now defense has lost their morale. If you don't change either quarterback or play philosophy, you may beat Texas Tech, maybe.
Well, how do you change your play philosophy if the guys, the most important thing, and that's all, those are valid points, but they are secondary and tertiary issues to the overall issue of the 5 big guys in front, whatever 5 they are getting run through like a turnstile. And whoever the quarterback
not only
is,
that, they're shuffling like a turnstile, but they're being run through like a turnstile. They're not always every play the problem, but they are a big part of the problem.
But it's taken away any kind of rhythm that they can get on offense. And, okay, you say, why did they throw the ball deep? Well, you need more time to throw the ball deep because the receiver has to go further away from the quarterback. Well, if he doesn't have that time for the receiver to get down there and he's running for his life, then, again, you're not going to get deep throws.
But there were times he did have time. There were some throws. Again, one to R.J. Sneed on the deep side near the scoreboard side that, boy, if that thing's a little bit further, the game does get a lot different.
But if the bombs keep falling, it's going to be like France in World War II. After it's over, some people are going to think they're still here.
It's like PTSD.
I mean, I agree with you, Paul, but at the same time, it has to be the play philosophy changing because the offensive line isn't changing. Charlie's not changing. We saw 2 different complete offenses on Saturday, one for 3 quarters that was absolutely among the worst in college football. It has to be. It has to be.
Yeah.
And in the 4th quarter, we saw an offense that had it played that way for even an extra quarter, just even a second quarter. They win the football game. So that's where the frustration comes into play, and so something has to change. And so to me, if it's not going to be your quarterback and you can't change your offensive line, then your philosophy has to change.
Like I said, you have a job as a coach to have whatever you have and somehow find a way to make that whatever it is, good, bad, or ugly, find a way for them to be in positions where they can make plays. All right, couple quick calls. We do have Aranda on the offensive line shuffling. We might just wait for the one-on-one for that. Paul?
Joe in DFW, you're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, fellas, thanks for taking my call. I wanted to complete the trifecta since my two other brothers from another mother called with Matt and T-Rex. Man, I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. And Craig, you're 100% right. It was a totally different offense for 3 quarters. And in the 4th quarter, it was like something miraculous happened. I don't know if hell froze over or what happened, but something was aligned just right, and we finally figured out something. Because, I mean, I'm not going to beat a dead horse anymore because y'all know my feelings about Charlie and the quarterback position. But I'm kind of putting this whole weekend on the coach's shoulders because granted, I'm not the one making millions like they are. I'm not the ones in their positions. But if I was in their position, because I played against Sean Bell, I got a ton of respect for that guy when we played in high school against each other. But I feel like if I was in their spot, I'd be reviewing what happened last year with the offense, what's going on with it this year with the offense, and try to see if there's anything that mirrors. Because obviously there was some success last year. If that's what it takes because of this short season and because of this unorthodox season, so be it. Go back to the basics. But I put this all on the coaches, and I give Aranda 100% credit for saying, hey, that's on me. Because he took the credit from Jump Street during the post game. And I give him a ton of credit for it. And everybody's just trying to say, hey, well, Aranda needs to go. Come on, people. Let's pump the brakes a little bit because that's a knee-jerk reaction if I've ever heard of one. And guys, I mean, it's just at this point, people can't just throw their hands up and hope something sticks. We've got to, like T-Rex said, we've got to believe in this team and we've got to be there for this team as fans. I mean, and the biggest fan, he's not even with us anymore. He's looking down on this team, and that's T-Rex and Matt's dad, David Carver. You guys know him real well, or knew him real well. I guarantee you that guy would be all up in arms right now watching this team. He ain't going to leave until that last minute ticks off that clock. So we need more fans like that, and guys need to quit jumping on people and get with the program, and let's go. Thanks for taking my call, fellas.
Hey, we appreciate you, man. Thanks, Joe, Matt. Also, thanks to T-Rex. And one more to wrap up this segment. We're going to hear from Dee Richards on the collision. Her latest of where she is on her comeback from losing feeling in her lower extremities after the collision with Moon Urson. We'll have a little bit from her in just a second.
Stephen in Virginia, thanks for your call. You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, guys, I had 3 big takeaways, and I just got off work, so I'm going to miss what everybody else said. But the first is that Charlie's not it, but I don't think the staff is going to pull him. And if that's the case, then the language around his defense needs to change. Instead of being Charlie, no one else is as good as Charlie, or no one else is good enough, that's not really going to fly as an excuse, because this team was down 27-0 and 30-0 in back-to-back weeks to its biggest rivals, and that's just not going to cut it. The second point is the second half of football doesn't justify the first, and that's for everybody that played poorly in the first half. The fact that they came back and went on a 23-3 run, I'm not going to be feeling like Charlie led the comeback. Okay, we're feeling good, because it shouldn't have been to that point. And then the third point is, I'm sorry for you, Craig, because you're going to get a lot of squirrel questions this week on the Trust the Podcast. That's because he has to get the lion's share of the carries, because he's the one who's producing. If Lovett and Edna are going to provide what they provided, then you have to give Squirrel the touches, because he's actually making something out of them. And after that, I'll just listen. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Craig got questions about Squirrel when he wasn't going to play for 8, 10, 12 weeks or for almost an entire season. He did bring something to the table. Lovett, in fact, we'll update that. Dave Aranda saying that both Tyquan Thornton and Lovett, who are out with concussions, it appears their status for this week is unknown. I'm probably going to say, just off thought, I don't think you'll see them play this week.
Well, and you know what? The offense has been
no one's told me that either, by the way.
The offense has been so bad, it doesn't really make a difference, honestly. I mean, it does, but think about it. Has Tyquan Thornton factored in any way this year?
No.
And I mean, has John Lovett really? He has. He's had his moments, but man, that was a big shot he took early on. I hated that for him. But I'm fine with the Squirrel Williams questions when he's playing. It's when he's not playing for like the entire season, and every week there's a question about a guy who never sees the field. That's when it's like, oh my gosh.
He had broken bones in his foot. Like, you can't.
So I got a lot of questions about an injured Squirrel that wasn't playing for like the entire season last year. But hey, I'm welcome to embrace him now, especially after Saturday, because for all the guys who didn't look like they cared to be there, in the first half especially, which was basically everybody on that entire team and the sidelines, by the fourth quarter, there were a couple of guys that had some juice, including Charlie, but Squirrel Williams brought that juice. He brought that juice that no other running back has this year. He's got different aspects to his game that no other running back on the roster appears to have. And as bad as the offensive line was, right, he managed to make some runs out of, maybe the same amount of blocking that the others had received. So, I'm all for more Squirrel. And I said earlier, and you might have just missed it, but I agree with you. I'm not cheering the comeback this time. We've seen this song and dance, and all it's done is led to 1-3. Those were fun last year when you pulled them off, but now you're just putting yourself in a hole. And I'm not going to keep cheering the same song, different verse, because I'm not a crazy person.
We have much more to get to, including Sarah, who just texted us and her thoughts about people cheering for Zeno or Bohannon or whoever else. We'll get to that later on because we're up against the break. We'll hear from Dee Richards, who had the collision with Moon Urson in practice over a week ago. She had numbness below her knees. A little bit of an update on that. And we'll hear from Alex Olson, who also is a part, basically, of women's basketball and athletic, the director of athletic training. All of that and much more, including comments from Kim Mulkey in that as well, about where is Dee Richards and what is next for her. This is SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace, Family Box right here in front of me off their Facebook page. Family Box for $70 includes 5 pounds of ground beef, 5 pounds of 6-ounce chicken breast, 5 pounds of bone-in pork chops, and 5 pounds of sirloin steaks. The sausage sample box for just $15, including a pound of summer sausage, 6 pieces of piggy sticks, 4 pieces of German sausage, 4 pieces of hot links, and 4 pieces of Cajun sausage. Marketplace barbecue box for $50, a piece of tri-tip, 2 racks of St. Louis-style ribs, and 2 3.5-pound whole chickens, all a part of that Market barbecue box. And if you want your steaks customized cut, they have a butcher shop for your seafood, pork, poultry, and beef. If you want something for tailgating, whether it's tri-tip or brisket and more, or sausage, they have that. And the bakery, which bakes fresh bread every day and fresh kolaches every morning, available for whatever you want with that as well. And up and down the aisles, what you need from boxed dinners, like, for example, hamburger helper, to pasta, seasonings, sweets, treats, spices. What? You need it? They got it. Fresh cold beer and wine. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
The Black is back. It's the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. Get special holiday deals on the truck of your dreams, like a brand new Ram Lone Star Crew Cab with special factory discounts and financing. Or grab hold of the Swiss Army knife of SUVs, Jeep Gladiator, and head for holiday adventure. The Black is back. The Black Friday sales event from Allen Samuels, your friend in the car business.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, so last week, one of the other stories, other than everything Baylor football and even what was going on with the basketball team with some of the Big 12 preseason teams and rankings and whatever else, was the story about both Moon Urson and Dede Richards colliding in a practice. They were both on the same team. They were practicing. Their team had just scored. There was a ball being thrown down the court. They both went after it. Bam! And they collided. Moon suffered a concussion. She's in the third stage of 5 stages to get through concussion protocol. She announced that or mentioned that today in what was a Zoom conference meeting. Kim Mulkey, Dede Richards, Moon Urson, and also Alex Olson, who's the director of athletic medicine for women's basketball at Baylor. And here was the opening. This is Chad Conine, who covers Baylor for the Trib. His questions to Dede.
Everybody that saw the press release and the statement on Thursday, I guess it was, really concerned about you. Maybe it was Wednesday, I can't remember, but really concerned about, what you were going through. Can you take us, if you don't mind, if you're comfortable talking about it, what your range of motion or range of feelings were and where you're at and maybe what's ahead for you? I mean, is it even we're talking about the season and, just health-wise where you're at?
Before, it was like I couldn't feel. By the time I got to the hospital, it was from knees down. I was kind of numb still. And leaving the hospital, I was able to get up and walk with, some support or whatever. But it was a gradual change. It was so fast that it was kind of reassuring that I'll be back quickly, So I leave the hospital and now I'm going through rehab. And today I'm doing a lot more movement. My walk is looking a lot better. I'm still needing some support in some way, but every day is getting easier. So I'm hoping, yes, there will be a season, and I'm letting everybody know we're playing this season.
Thanks.
Now, Alex can tell you from a medical standpoint, he took her to what doctor to see and just give people what y'all were told, Alex.
Sure. We saw several doctors here locally. We also took her to a neurologist in Dallas, Dr. Alan Martin, did a full head-to-toe evaluation of Dede last Wednesday. The prognosis is good, that Dede's young, she's healthy, that there were no abnormalities in any of the scans. And we've done multiple scans from head to toe on Dede. So that's all really good news and encouraging, along with the fact that every day she's progressing and getting better. The timeline, we don't know. It just goes literally by how she's feeling. And so we're all optimistic that she's back this year, but there's no guarantees that's going to happen. We just take it as fast as she can go.
Dede, you might be as vibrant, charismatic, and full throttle as I've ever covered. How has this affected you and your look? And also, do you have a message to the fan base of Baylor?
I don't think it's affected the way I strut. Coach Mulkey used to always talk about me walking like a ball player. But that's the only thing I think is really affected. I'm still going to be me at the end of the day, which I don't want the people around me, feeling down when they see me or sad. I've been getting these sorry for me eyes whenever people say, I'm like, what are you sad for? I'm getting better every day, which is what I keep, stressing to people. So if I would want any, Baylor fans or the world out there to know is that I am getting better every day and I am still going to be, the loud, go-lucky person that I've always been.
I guess first off, I just wanted to say to Dede and Moon, and I think I can speak for everybody on the call and everybody who follows women's basketball, how happy we are to see both of you today and how much we're hoping for the quickest possible recovery for both of you. I just have a question for Dede and for Coach Mulkey. The fact that with because of COVID-19, there's the chance of people coming back for another year, basically, even if they play this year, does that play into your decision at all, Dede and Coach, if you could talk about that as well?
I think it gives me some reassurance that at the end of the day, this injury, like they said, only time can tell whenever I come back. It kind of reassures me that I'll always have a home here. Not that they weren't already reassuring me that, but now I'm not really rushing, which Coach Mulkey always lets me know that I'm never being rushed. But I naturally am going to rush myself because, at the end of the day, I want to be back on the court. But this, knowing that I can come back, it kind of makes it easier for me to kind of, take it literally one day at a time and, get to know myself a little better with Alex.
I never thought of that, Michelle. In fact, when the NCAA said they could get their year back, I kind of shocked them one day and said, I need to know right now, today, how many of you are coming back? And they were just like, oh, wait, whoa, and you're looking at Dede, a first-round draft pick, and you're looking at Melissa and some other so they need to decide that on their own. And you never want to make those decisions quickly. A lot of things happen, particularly when you have transferring that's going on this day and age. Kids, transfer in, transfer out. So Dee Dee probably in the back of her mind goes, I've got another year, no matter how slow or how fast it takes me. But really, at this point, from my perspective as a mother first, it's just not about basketball for me. And while I know it's Dee Dee's identity, it really isn't Dee Dee's identity. Dee Dee has so much to offer that I just want her walking. I want her, as she said, strutting like she does. I want her prissing. I want her dancing. I want her all the things Dee Dee does in life away from basketball. And certainly basketball is her goal and should be her goal. And no one has told her it any differently. But as a mother, you just see a young person and go, how in the world did that collision create in her legs?
All right, that's Kim Mulkey, Alex Olson, and Dee Dee Richards. Moon Urson also spoke, and we just picked out a part when they were discussing Dee Dee. Moon Urson said that she feels better. She's in phase or stage 3 of 5 in the concussion protocol. They don't play till the end of the month. That's the good news. And this Dee Dee Richards thing is positive as Dee Dee wanted to be. Alex Olson also tempered it a little bit by saying this is a day-to-day process where she could wake up tomorrow and basically feel fine. But there are certain things that they can do to try to help kind of maybe get that back to normal.
Yeah, that treadmill thing sounded pretty cool to me.
Well, when they opened up Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the new building at Baylor Scott and White Hospital, they have that. That's where it's kind of a baggie or something around you. It allows you to run with gravity. It's amazing. And so they're using that, as you could imagine. But the fact it could only be Dee Dee, the way she does prance, and the way she's got that little look, and you hope that never does disappear, because she has been phenomenal to be a part of and watch the last 3 years.
She told you not to worry about it when you asked her. She was like, no, I don't need to worry about me.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so when we come back, we'll have high school coaches from Mart and Crawford. They're combined, I think, like 17 or 18-0. Mart's Kevin Hoffman, they beat Bremont, and I'm still stunned over the score, 78-6. And then there's also Crawford's Greg Jacobs coming off the off week, their thoughts, and then my conversation. 17 minutes, hopefully asking every question that you wanted to ask as much as we possibly could with Dave Aranda on SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac has their summer savings event continuing on right now, and they've got a lot of great deals going on right now, not only in addition to the fantastic customer service they have, but every vehicle on the lot is priced to move. That means you get the opportunity to check out not only a wide variety of vehicles, but also see that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in savings that could be yours. All 2020 vehicles are priced to move, as I mentioned, and how about checking out the 2020 GMC Sierra at Richard Carr? It's the best truck on the road. It's got a smooth, quiet ride and a first-class interior matched with power and durability. And right now at Richard Carr during the kickoff savings event, qualified buyers will score $9,000 off a 2020 GMC Sierra. They also have the 3-row Buick Enclaves, which are an amazing value for an SUV that's got some luxury with it. During their kickoff savings event, all 2020 3-row Buick Enclaves are $10,000 off, or you can get the versatile and nimble Buick Encore for under $20,000 at only $19,900. They've also got a little bit higher priced vehicles. If you're looking for even more luxury, sophistication, style, what have you, then maybe you're interested in the Cadillac brand. Well, they've got the Cadillac Experience waiting for you with the XT4, XT5, or the full-size 7-passenger Cadillac XT6. Right now, you can save $2,000 on those Cadillac models. It's a kickoff savings event at Richard Carr. Score huge savings right now on all vehicles in stock. Go to richardcarr.com or come see the deals at Highway 6 and the Imperial Exit, or give them a call, and they will bring the test drive to you.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
group of over 30 physicians in Central Texas became frustrated seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves. They opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. We've seen too many patients suffer from complications of obesity. Patients who have tried countless do-it-yourself diets, which often results in 25% of the weight they lose coming from muscle breakdown and muscle loss. We needed another approach, so we opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed diet program to lose substantial weight, targeting fat while sparing muscle. Dieters are seen weekly by a coach who performs detailed body composition analysis. Please email us at SicEm365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com, and one of our coaches will contact you promptly to get you set up for our free educational seminars. Lose weight by losing fat and sparing muscle. Start Muscle-Wise today. Contact us at SicEm365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Bird Culture Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culture Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culture Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culture Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culture Ford.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Hi, this is Mart High School football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Mart Panthers football coach Kevin Hoffman is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, First National Bank of Central Texas.
Kevin, an absolute, complete, dominant 9-0 regular season, and I just noticed this when I was going through your scores. You allowed 6 points in 5 district games. 6.
Yeah, we put up some good performances in our district season, and hats off to our defense and our defense coordinator and our defense coaching staff.
Bremon's a pretty good football team, and the last decade has been pretty much run in that area by both what you've done lately and even what you were doing when they were winning as well. Did you ever expect that game to get that far out of hand?
No, Bremon's got a great program. Have won and been good for a long time. We kind of scored a little bit early, and things kind of fell apart for them, and kind of got out of hand there. So, but no, we didn't expect that.
47.1 points per game, 7.4 points per game. Which of those two stats is more impressive?
The defensive stats. We've been fortunate around here that we've got great athletes and a lot of speed on the field on offense, and we put up big numbers before, but to hold people down is throughout our season, especially early on when we played all the 3A Division I schools, and our defense, we got a lot of kids that can run, and we got a lot of speed on the field on defense, and kids that get after it and understand what we're trying to do.
You had to play 3 games in 2 weeks. You had to play 2 games in 1 week with Wortham, and then also the Saturday blowout of Bremont 78-6. Now you get an open week. The district continues. There's games coming up this week, but the district does continue. After all of what you've been through, including trying to find games at times early on, and then changes and the suspensions and cancellations and postponements, is this the perfect time for an off week?
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, but we tried to preach and talk to these kids about take whatever comes whenever it comes, and adjust to whatever situation and whatever game or no game or anything else. But these kids have done a great job with that, and going into our schedule and going into the playoffs, and we'll wait on who we're going to play. But this will give us a chance again to give the kids a day or two off next week, and let some of the bumps and bruises heal up, and see if we can't get to full strength and get a couple of those kids back that have been out for 6 or 8 weeks. Maybe get those kids back for the playoffs.
Hi, this is Crawford AD head football coach Greg Jacobs, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Crawford Pirates football coach Greg Jacobs is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, MP Electric.
Well, Greg, how'd you enjoy the off week? You guys have been pushing and obviously dominating and had a tough game. The one with Bosqueville, as we mentioned, it pushed you a little bit a couple of weeks ago. So you had the game you didn't have to play with the forfeit. Your thoughts about the bye week and heading into Valley Mills?
Well, we used this bye week to focus on ourselves. We had an opportunity to heal up some, and we really took a good look at our Bosqueville game and just looked at some things that we thought might be considered weaknesses. And so we spent the week trying to work on those areas and getting some of our backups some opportunities to get some reps.
You watch film to see what you see. I mean, everyone always talks about, like, the film never lies. It's there. It's going to see who's playing hard, who's hustling, who makes a mistake, who misses an assignment. How many times have you watched film looking at an opponent and you've seen something that, like, jumps out at you as, hey, man, we can do something with that? Or is it pretty much you already know when you're going in?
Oh, when you watch film, you always look at the other team's strengths and weaknesses, and you try to find ways to exploit one way or another. So, as you watch film, as you analyze film, you're always looking for some way to get an advantage. So, it's an opportunity for us to really focus on that.
Isn't it amazing, as long as this game has been played, at the levels that it's been played, for as many years and games that have been played, there's always something you can do new?
Always something. Always something. Yes, you're right. Always.
It's amazing. Like and sometimes it's like cyclical. Like, I still sometimes think of the spread as maybe even a form of the bone or the option, right? Because it's about spacing and it's about fakes and it's about trying to get people singled up.
Sure, it is. And a lot of times the more film you watch, the simpler you really want to get. And sometimes simpler is better. And so, we always look for those opportunities if we can.
Valley Mills has struggled. They haven't been able to play a lot. They're also, of course, have not won a game. So how do you approach this week, knowing the playoffs are just around the corner? How do you handle the off week into a game with a team that has obviously not played well?
Well, they're a young team. They have improved during the course of the year, but they are very young and inexperienced. But they've gained experience through this season, and they are playing hard. So the way we approach this game is really prepare just like we would any other game, and then when we have the opportunities to utilize some guys that play some backup roles that could help us maybe as we go into the playoffs to get them some experience, we look to try to do that.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist's office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Trying to get lined up here. They'll fake it to him. Brewer rolling, throwing, caught, touchdown. Sims again.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda with me on SicEm365 Radio. You mentioned something about Sundays, and it's kind of like you find out the truth. What did you find out yesterday about your team based on Saturday, what they had to tell you, and vice versa?
There's a great need and a great appreciation for accountability. And I know personally, and then with our staff, and most importantly with our players and with our team. And so that was number one. So to tell the truth, Sunday is like to get past the the emotion and the hurt and the frustration and all of it, and get to what the truth is, why it's this way, right? How did this happen? And then get to how this can be prevented and what steps we have to do to fix it. And so I think in taking that approach, starting the game faster, is definitely something that was talked about. I think I look upon myself like that's something I have to do better in terms of creating energy in the locker room and really managing time on the grass prior to the game. I feel like I can do a better job there. We looked at, just in terms of the twists and stunts and the pickups that come, just simplifying there. It's another area that I take accountability for. I think those, how we frame that and how we approach, moving fronts and boxes so that we can play our most aggressive, I think is critical, just with just how our makeup and who we are. And then third, I would say the defensively, the ability to when our lead calls are struggling for whatever reason, to have a home base to go to and to have that be known and clear, so that everyone knows that, hey, if we're not hitting with this pressure or we're not getting with this stunt, our home base is this, and we're coming right back to this call, and this is where we'll get it figured out and get right and get back on track. I think those three things are big takeaways. There's various other things there, but I think it kind of starts with those.
Did you apologize to the team in the post game? And whether you did or not, what did it mean to you when Treston Ebner stood up or said, wait a minute, Coach, we are the ones that need to apologize to you?
Well, I think, accountability is big. I think the ownership, when you're able to take ownership, you're able to see your part, the role that you play in the big picture. And a lot of times, you're working on little details, so there's a little conversation or there's a little decision, and then it builds to bigger things. And so there's always ownership in there, and so I think, as you know, kind of, the heartbeat of your team, and the characteristics of your staff and your team, you're able to learn and apply better methods, better ideas, and I feel like this was one of them. But it means a lot that that Eb and just the rest of the guys, they're owning it, and so many guys that are all the way in, and so I definitely appreciate that, and it gives me a lot of. It gives me a lot of incentive to get out there, today, for example, and do it better.
Does the fact that it was Ebner, after the week that he had and you had and the team had, does that make it even more special? It does. I think, you just look at the performance that he had, and just, you don't have that type of, the performance is probably not even the right word, just the effort that he had. You don't have that type of effort without a real strong care factor for thinking of people others other than yourself, and so it means a lot. Dave, the quarterback situation, I know you get peppered with questions about Charlie, and I've asked him, others have asked him about his productivity, the offense, the way you can try, if you can, stretch the field, how much time he has, is he making throws? Obviously, you have tremendous belief in him, and so does, I believe, the staff. What does it say, though, about those behind him when he has struggled? Where are Bohannon and Zeno and Chapin as far as their progression if you need them? Yeah, so that's a good question. So, Gary has progressed
from the time that I got here, I think like his confidence in the pocket has grown. I think his decision making is continued to improve. I think there's still improvement being made. I think Gary's got a great leadership quality about him. There's an alpha in him where he's in a situation, man. He wants to own it completely. He wants to take it, and the guys recognize that. The team does, and when he's in there is an energy. And then with Zeno, there's a calmness about him. There's kind of a coolness, right? When stuff's kind of going, when bombs are kind of going off left and right, there's a ability to decipher kind of what's what in the pocket and get throws off that I think are kind of unique to him. And so there's improvement that all those guys have had, and they get reps throughout the week. And I'm impressed with just their heart and their mindset, because I know it can be difficult for them. And so, losing really doesn't really benefit any of us. And so I think their ability to stay the course and work that process that we got for them, I definitely appreciate.
Do you feel like Charlie, this is all he's ever done is win? Now, he had to go through the 1-11, but are you concerned about where he is? Is it more mental or physical with him right now?
I have talked to him about that, just about the this stretch here that we've been on, and just about how that affects people and just mindsets and all of it. And I'm appreciative of him when he allows himself to kind of pour into me and let me know what he's thinking. And so I think he's just such a strong competitor that when we don't have success, when we don't do well, it hurts him. And so I think he wants to have success, and he wants to get the offense going. And I think the challenge is to not go outside of it, outside of what's being asked or outside of what's in front of them, and to kind of trust what we've got for him, trust his teammates, and let's kind of move forward as a team. Sometimes that's hard to do when there's bombs going off to your left and right.
You continued to shuffle quite a bit your offensive line, and obviously that's been a challenge because of COVID, because of injuries, because of everything else, even a suspension. It seemed like you shuffled them quite a bit. Maybe I'm wrong, but against TCU, do you know who your 5 best offensive linemen are right now?
Yeah, I think we were in a mode there where we had J-Mo at center, and we had X at guard, and we have Burton at guard, and I think that's the heart of it. That's where I think when we had the most success was that. I think there's a great grittiness that can take place there. I think there's glimpses of it. We need to see more of it, but I think that's kind of probably the start. We'd like to be certainly further along than what we are. And so, but I feel like that's the group right there. Those 3 in the interior, and you got like Mose there, you got Kimball, and you got some other guys that can help and come in, and you certainly feel comfortable with. But I think those interior 3 have shown the most.
You mentioned earlier about you needing to and I don't want to misquote you, but finding a way to bring more energy to the locker room or the field or whatever. You are who you are. We've talked about this with Tony Dungy and what he said to you. Don't be someone you're not. And then eventually someone would say, yeah, they're taking on the personality of their coach, and you're quiet and you're not a yeller and screamer, but inside your fire burns. Is this right now a challenge for you?
No, I look back at this past week and like the practices that we had, were very energetic. I think this past Tuesday was maybe the best Tuesday that I've ever had. And I've heard that from a few other people, coaches as well. I think right when we broke off that Tuesday practice, I remember Terrell coming at me. He goes, "I've never had a practice like that." And so, I think, when you're, I don't know, when you're somebody that's like me, I guess you find different ways to the energy is still energy. You need it. Regardless of whether you're an animated person or not. When you're not, I feel you just find different ways to get to that same spot. You need it. And so I think we were able to do that throughout the week. And I thought through the game we were able to do that. I thought, the guys would be, I talked to Terrell about this, is coming off the sideline off of, a field goal block or a PAT block and all this stuff, and there can be some true, hey, what about this and why is that? And all of those, there's certainly those questions are normal during that specific, slice of time, but there wasn't really any of that. I didn't feel it, and to be honest, I wasn't going to allow it. Just with the energy we were trying to give on the sideline, and I felt like that fire never went out. And so when we're able to get some stuff going on O and on teams, we turned it up some. And so I think there's been energy there. We just I got to do a better job at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, because it seemed like, I didn't know, and sometimes I've heard coaches say this, that you had that practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and you almost like peaked early, or you played the game in the middle of the week. Is that something that also can happen?
Well, the practices are short, so I think like the thought with how we're going is to not go for very long, but to make it game-like and to get good versus good, to get speed versus speed, and to get try to get best versus best. And so there's a lot of times where we go ones versus twos and twos versus ones. Our twos are getting the reps or the ones are getting reps versus twos that have started games for us, have played in games. And so they're, when it's a reach block, it's game day, and I feel like that's the best way to go about it. The opposite view would be, scout teams and kind of walkthroughs, and there's just, the look's not the same. I guess the physicality is not the same, and the energy is provided is not the same. So I think when you're going as hard and as energetic as we are, you want to get your work in and get out. And so I think ours has always been, let's make it game-like. Let's do our work, get in, get out, as opposed to the longer practices that are more kind of a walk and talk and that. And so we've had success with it this way, and I feel like our guys are liking it. I think it's really just a matter of I have to talk more about starting fast, and I've got to be more involved in that piece.
Dave, philosophically, you have been in this business a long, long time. This is your first opportunity as a head coach. How much are you learning every day? And how much of this are you having to also, considering the conditions you've been dealt with, learning every day and trying to grasp it all, the big picture, along with what is every single day, every single moment?
No, I appreciate the question. I feel that, when there is losing or when there's pressure, it creates abnormal behavior in people. I think that's just, I don't know. I've always felt that. I feel like that's a fact. And so I think the ability for us to stay together, to coaching staff, players, team, stay together. I told them yesterday I've got every one of them's back, and what can I do to help them? And here's our path moving forward. Right, let's own this. Right, let's get better with every every day that we've got this week. And I think when you have the ability to be with a bunch of guys that are all on the same page, all working for the same goal, and all kind of selling out to get that accomplished, you can create some momentum pretty quick. And I feel like, yesterday was good. We're practicing today because of that our NCAA rule with Tuesday being an off day. And so we're right back at it. And I feel like we'll attack this one.
Last question. You haven't had a chance to very much meet many of the players' parents, families, because of the off season. We'd have camps, or you'd have this, or you'd have that. How much, no matter if you're a first-year head coach and staff or not, how much have you missed that, and how much do you think that maybe the parents have missed it as well?
No, I think it's big. I think, I miss that, and I know that they do too. I know that I'd have to imagine from their perspective, there's got to be like, what's going on, I'm sure. And so I think, we were talking about having we've had a few, and I don't plan on hiding anything. And so I think that relationship and the ability to talk that way, I think is, especially in difficult times, is really important.
Baylor football coach Dave Aranda on SicEm365 Radio. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic, whatever might be, low testosterone problems. And part of that might be fatigue, loss of energy. It could be you're lethargic, you don't sleep well. It even could be weight gain. It also could be your performance sexually. It could be ED. It could be one of those or all of those because of a low level of testosterone. So how do you find out if that's a problem? If any of that hits you, Dr. Kent Petty at PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com can help you get discounted lab work, that's blood work, look at your results, and then if you're low on testosterone, he can help put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels to take care of what any of that might be. Across the board, checking one box or checking many of them. But the only way you could do that and get in touch with him is getting to PettyClinicLowT.com, making the call, and allowing his staff to set you up with blood work. And then he'll look at your testosterone results and level, the blood level. He also checks for PSA levels as well for prostate cancer and cholesterol and more. But if your testosterone levels are low, real low or kind of low, he can put you in a program to help you increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be. Loss of sexual interest is involved. Weight gain, fatigue, energy, sleeping habits, bad. A lot of that still has to do with what you do. Do you get enough sleep? Do you also exercise? What's your diet like? A lot of that comes into play, but so does testosterone as you get older. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more. With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi. Great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco. House-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. Best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. In the next segment, we'll have our high school football players of the week and also Q&A with Craig Paul and me on high school games that we saw or scores that came in. 5 o'clock, Phil Bennett from Hawaii on what he saw with college football, including Baylor and TCU moving forward. At 5:30, former Baylor quarterback J.J. Joe, color analyst for the radio broadcast of Baylor football. Will Phipps, executive director of the Waco Sports Commission, joins us now on SicEm365 Radio here in studio. How you doing? You like the digs? Kind of explain what you thought and then what you've seen here.
Yeah, what an honor to be with you guys today. And this is an awesome setup you guys have here. Just incredible sports feel. And so for a sports guy, a sports lover, man, it's exciting to be in studio with you today.
It's kind of a broadcast man cave in a way. And we're, of course, still going to add to it along the way. So right now, your job is to bring events into the city. Your job is to bring sporting events. We're about to talk about one that's a virtual, the tip-off luncheon. We're about to do that, but what is the challenge you face right now when you are trying to bring things in and yet sometimes people push back on that today?
Yeah, it's the Greater Waco Sports Commission. We are here to find sporting events that aren't happening in Waco and help bring them to Waco. So I'm a big advocate for why sporting events could happen in Waco. And so traditionally, in a normal year, I'll travel around the country and meet with event producers and tell them, hey, this is all the good stuff we have going in Waco. You should do your event in Waco. But all that's been shut down, since March. I think every coach or every sports organization has faced significant challenges this year with COVID. So we're not any different than anyone else. You just really have to try to be creative and find ways to make things happen or get things done when everyone's facing these unusual challenges, COVID related. So it's been a tough year for us for sure.
So do you try to plan for the future? Do you try to, I guess, stop the leaks in the dam, so to speak, and plan for when this is all over, which one day it will be. We know it will. We just don't know when.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the weird things is you don't know when this is going to be over. And so usually how these sports tourism organizations, and we're set up as a nonprofit, we partner with the city and the county to help find events that would fit in the facilities we have here in Waco. And so our schedule traditionally is really full. This Waco and tourism have been so good the last 5 years that traditionally our schedule is really full. So we used to have an issue with people want to say, I want this date. And you'd say, well, there's already a lot of stuff going on that day. But now the schedule, a lot of people are looking at saying, well, there's open dates for you. If you want to come to Waco, we can find a way to host you here, whether it's a high school sporting event, UIL, or a national event or larger. Just as a matter of fact, today, Waco hosted the TAP State Cross Country Meet out at Midway High School. Usually that event is at Cottonwood, but thank you to Brad Shelton and the guys out at Midway, and Tom Hill does a great job producing that event for us here in town. But so teams actually can still come here, but we are planning for the future. It's just tough to know when's the schedule going to be open for us to be able to do stuff. But we're constantly looking 12 months out, 24 months out, trying to find things that could work here. And it is going to end one day, so I'm optimistic that Waco still has a lot to offer.
So you have this virtual tip-off lunch, and you had Dave Aranda. And you have, I think, a set, as you mentioned, of 4 of these. Normally, it would be at the Farrell Center or somewhere.
Yeah.
That's obviously not going to happen now, but that doesn't mean that doesn't happen. So tell us a little bit about how people who are basketball hoops junkies can hear Scott and Kim and MCC with Kevin and Ricky as well.
Yeah, that's right. And the sports luncheon series has been going on. It's a chamber event, and chamber is just a great economic driver here in town. You might have seen just last week they announced Amazon coming into town. That was a huge announcement. So the chamber is just fantastic from an economic development standpoint, and they gather businesses together. And so we're coming alongside them as the Sports Commission to help produce these sports luncheon series that have been going on, probably longer than I've been alive. Steve Smith's been doing these for a long year, Snuffy.
Yep.
And so so we were sitting around thinking, we can't bring people to the Farrell Center to have them up on stage and let Coach Haller interview him, let J Mo interview him. So what can we do? Well, let's recreate that in a setup where we have all of the coaches together that you mentioned, the 2 MCC coaches and both Baylor coaches, and let John Morris interview him back and forth on a live stream, similar to what we're doing here today. And so that's what we're going to offer. It's next Tuesday, the 10th. It's free to the community. Anyone locally or anywhere in the country could sign up, wacochamber.com/events, and they'll get a link in their email inbox. They can click the link next Tuesday and jump on and see what these teams have going on. And for me, like you said, a hoops junkie. I mean, we're all sports fans here, but hoops personally for me is the big one. And so I am really, really excited about this event next week because the 2 MCC teams are always really competitive. Those coaches, year in, year out, have those teams at the top of the league. But specifically, men's basketball and women's basketball at Baylor this year, wow. If you're a basketball fan, this is the year to find out what these teams have been going on because, 2 preseason top 5 teams. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be exciting.
No question about it.
Yeah, and for people who haven't been to one of these before, I've been to a lot of these luncheons before. I've been here for 15 years. I've been to most of them in my 15 years since I've been here. They're really fun. I mean, they're fun and they're good. So this is if you've never been to one, and now you've got a chance to tune into one without low stakes, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to change clothes or anything like
exactly.
that. Yeah,
usually they are a lot of fun, and this is what's one of the sad things about COVID, the impact it's had on some of these banquets throughout the years, because there are a lot of great banquets in Waco to go to, whether it's a sports banquet or it's just a general fundraising banquet for a good cause. Well, a lot of those have been postponed this year. And so this is a chance for you you can eat lunch at home on your lunch break. You can do it at the office, but you can log on and watch these coaches and find out what have they been doing the last couple of weeks? How are they overcoming their COVID challenges? And what are their players looking like? So really excited about this next Tuesday.
You have the personalities here. Both Kevin and Ricky have great personalities, and they have been incredibly successful.
Yeah.
And then you have Scott and Kim and their personalities as well. Whether you're in person or even if you're watching from your laptop or wherever you might be watching, you're going to get pretty much you're going to get the full throttle from them.
Yeah, it's going to be the real deal. And we're thankful to have Sean Trocum, who's the athletic director at MCC. She serves on our board. And so what an honor it is to have her on our board. And then we also have Jason Cook, who's a VP here at Baylor. He serves on our board as well. So great representation from both of these fine universities and these academic institutions. And these coaches are so fun to listen to. I mean, you guys had Scott Drew on recently, and you could go listen to Kim Mulkey talk all day about her team. They're just so exciting. And with all of the challenges that they've been facing, I'm interested to hear about what are they doing to overcome? How is it coaching with a mask on? What are your players, how are your players handling the uncertainty of the testing from week to week? And so, not to mention, both these teams are really, really, really good. So I'm excited.
Baylor women are technically the defending national champions because of what they did in Tampa a couple of years ago. And who knows, maybe on their way back to another Final Four when their plane was on the tarmac and coasting and ready to take off when they were told to shut it down. And we obviously know the run that Scott was on last year as well before everything was shut down in Kansas City. So if anyone, again, to go with the link, how do they get there? And it's not like this is free, correct?
Free, absolutely free. So we want as many hoops junkies. If you're a Baylor fan, if you're an MCC fan, alumni, you go to wacochamber.com/events, and then you can scroll down to the Sports Luncheon Series, and there it is. You can put in your info and sign up, and you will get a link in your email. Going back to how it ended last year, for us to pick up now with the season starting in November, towards the end of November, it's been a long time since we've had basketball, and a lot has happened since March Big 12 tournament when this thing suddenly ended. And so there's going to be a lot of information. I think there will be a lot of questions people have about how's it going and what's the forecast.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. In this day and age, there are some of these things we can't do them. But the fact you can still do them, and it's getting to the point where when things do get back to normal, which they will, it's like how many things that used to be events that you attended, which is for you need that. That's part of what you guys do and what the chamber does or what anyone does is how many now media sessions, how many of those can now be on Zoom that used to be a word I didn't even know what it meant.
Right.
And now it's part of our everyday life.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the name of the game, and everyone's facing this, whether it's in your daily life or in your work life, and if you're a coach specifically, you have to adapt and overcome. Everyone's facing significant challenges, but instead of focusing on what can't you do, we try to find ways to say, how can we do this? And so the Zoom has been a great asset for people to still have those meetings, but I wanted to take it another step further and not just have a regular Zoom meeting, but let's do a live stream with the coaches and John Morris live together, because to me, the interaction of being live is so much better than you talking digitally through a screen. And so I really do hope that people will get a good experience from this event, and we'll be able to get a look maybe behind the curtain on these coaches and really get a feel for what's been going on with their teams and how are they doing.
Yeah, plus you won't have to have that coach, you're muted. Coach, you're muted.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. which is a new normal that we're all facing.
It is. We had the media session earlier today, and there's certain at times I've had mine where a microphone wasn't where it was supposed to be, or blue snowball, right, Paul? We had a new term that I never knew what it meant, but now I do. All right, it's next week.
Yes, sir. Next Tuesday. Starts at 12 o'clock. Yep.
So people have a chance to sit back, relax, do whatever they want, and have it right there in their home or office, rather than having to. Not that it's not good. I wish it was at the Farrell Center, quite frankly. I really do.
And hopefully we'll be back there one day. Like you said, this thing will be over, and we'll be able to go enjoy the company together. And they are really fun events. The Chamber does a great job with making the experience live at the events. And so one day we'll be back there, but this is what we have for now. These are the cards we've been dealt. And so imagine coaching in this COVID lifestyle, the uncertainty. And if you're a first-year football head coach and this is the cards you've been dealt, it's going to be tough. You got to learn quickly.
Well, we've seen what Dave Aranda's having to deal with as a first-year head coach in football. He's not the only one, but Arkansas seems to be okay. All the A&M beat him up pretty good. Now, you were a part of the basketball program for a short time early on, a few years back on Scott Drew's staff. What was that like under that staff? And obviously they have something very special, that staff, even with some of the ones moving on to better opportunities.
Right, absolutely. Well, going even one step further than that, my older brother was here, Turner, with Dave Bliss in 2003. That was his first year on campus. And then when Dave Bliss left and Scott Drew came in, he played for Scott for 2 years, 03 to 05. And so I personally already had a relationship with Scott and Matt Driscoll and Coach Tang and those guys. And so I knew I wanted to get into coaching, and the coach at Texas Tech at the time where I was from was Bobby Knight, and we didn't actually line up, eye to eye on certain things. Yeah, shocking. And so I kind of went the opposite extreme and came to be with Scott on staff here, and it's the best decision I ever made. Still very close with him and owe him a lot, because after I finished at Baylor, I went to Georgia Tech for 2 years, and I was with a guy named Paul Hewitt there. We had Amon Shumpert, Derek Favors, and we had some really good years, but they ended up firing Coach Hewitt, and then Brian Gregory came in and fired me. So I got to go over to Valparaiso and work with Homer and Bryce, which was the best 4 years of my life. Absolutely loved it.
Okay, who's the most enthusiastic Drew?
I would have to give it to Homer. He's sneaky and energetic, but he's just the family as a whole, whether it's Dana and Casey or Bryce, all of them, they're just really, really great.
They give the basketball note. Dave Bliss once was at SMU, I believe. Billy Tubbs passed away.
Yeah,
I saw that. 85 years old. He'd been battling leukemia.
Right.
Former Oklahoma coach. He was at Lamar University. He was now that was a tough guy to kind of sometimes get to know. But if you knew him, he was very good to you. He was fantastic at Oklahoma, and there was a couple other places he did very, very well. But that was if you didn't know that the basketball note that Billy Tubbs passed away at the age of 85. Anything else you want to pass along?
Well, I'm really looking forward to December 5th. Baylor men's basketball got a tough schedule this year. They're playing Gonzaga.
Yep.
Got a former guy I coached with, Roger Powell, who was on staff with us with Bryce. He's coaching at Gonzaga now. So I'm looking forward to Scott's schedule this year. They're going to have some great games. And everyone come out and join us next week for the tip-off luncheon.
All right. Thank you very much, Will.
Thanks for having me.
Executive Director of the Waco Sports Commission. That's next Tuesday at noon, the virtual event. Next Tuesday at noon. It is free. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine is a hidden gem in Waco, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. And look, T-Rex went by there this weekend and probably upped their gross domestic product there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine before the game. But if you're a fan of craft beer and different varieties of craft beer, you've got to check it out because they have just hundreds of different varieties and seasonal, whatever they have, they're going to find it. And they kind of go out of their way to find things that are different, whether it is spirits or craft beer or wines. They want to have that variety. They have that at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. They've got the convenient drive-through window. I've used that several times. It's great. And the store is just immaculately clean, and that big walk-in fridge with all the craft beers. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco.
University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive in Waco or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. The Central Texas Players of the Week is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
May have been the most difficult week for us to try to separate offense, defense, special teams, and overall player performances. Also, some high school football notes we'll have here in just a second. And Craig on some of the games that we saw, some of the scores from around even Texas and also Central Texas. The offensive player of the week in Central Texas, where did it go? We have a tie between Trajan Butler of Marlin and Kavion Gaither of Connolly. Now, I was going to have Gaither as the overall player.
Yeah, I think that's your tiebreaker.
All right, so we'll do that.
Game, yeah.
Trajan Butler, running back from Marlin. I saw this number come through, and then I had to call David Haynes Jr., the Marlin head football coach, and confirm it. 14 carries, 361 yards, and 4 touchdowns in a win against Axtell. Off the top of my head, that is basically close to 30 yards per carry. Not quite, maybe 25. Just over 25 yards per carry. He also had a teammate that ran for 200 yards. Tydarren Harris. He told me today they had nearly 800 yards of offense in the win against Axtell, 62-24. He's the offensive player of the week. Trey Wisner has to be considered. He had 1 yard rushing against China Spring, and also China Spring quarterback Major Bowden and running back Emmanuel Abdallah were fantastic in that overtime game. Wisner, 4 catches, 77 yards and a touchdown, 8 carries, 123 and 2. Craig, you're on the sidelines when you've seen him take off. You've been on the sidelines covering high-level football. Is he one of the fastest you've seen?
I mean, yeah, I guess he's up there. I don't have like a memory bank of I mean, I've covered various different schools, various different levels, and well over 10 years now. There's been a lot of guys, but no, he's up there as far as just a really good athlete, good speed, that kind of deal, but I wouldn't know where to place him.
Okay. Now, defensively, I'm going to give a note to LaMarcus McDonald. He did not win the vote, but he ended up with, and I saw this because I get the stats. I get a note that said, hey, the stats are ready. 26 tackles in that game with China Spring, 2 tackles behind the line of scrimmage. But Kadarius Marshall, linebacker and running back, we've heard of him. We saw him as a sophomore when he moved into town for Killeen. 13 tackles, 8 of those solo, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 he ran back for a touchdown, 4 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, and 1 of them ended and preserved the victory 27-20 against Ellison. So Kadarius Marshall, more known for being a running back, had a big-time game at linebacker. And Ralph Morales, the kicker at Conley, perfect extra points, 5 for 5. He also kicked a field goal from 32 yards out with no time left to force overtime. He had missed a kick earlier in the game and then made that one to force overtime, in which eventually Connolly won on the 2-point conversion on the catch by Bronche Miles from Gaither. Carson Coe had identical stats, 1 extra point, and also a field goal, but the one that Morales kicked was the one at the buzzer to win, to force the overtime and win the game. And it always think about the deep snapper, E.J. Torres Luna. Holder was Gaither as well in the kick by Morales. All right, anything else, guys? High school football. Robert Allen, Coach Hyde on Twitter said he thinks he's the first ever 4-year starter, offensive line starter in La Vega history.
His Twitter name is Pancake Prince?
Pancake Prince. No, it's at Big Rob 55. But Pancake Prince is what he calls himself. He's committed to play at Texas Southern University. Also, Michael Murray, one of the stars and weapons at Lampasas that Ace Whitehead can distribute the ball to, has decommitted from New Mexico. Said he's going to reopen his recruitment as well. And then this note from Ricky Sargent. Smokey, Friday night we witnessed something that may have never happened in the history of football at any level. 3 defensive linemen intercepted a pass. The defensive tackle, Monterius Smith, reached out with one hand for his interception. Defensive end Anthony Jackson caught his interception as he was falling to his knees. And defensive end Stephen Kraft Mitchell jumped to catch his interception, ran it back for a touchdown. Coach Jackson and Montalongo are doing a great job with our defensive linemen. They beat Thorndale 42-28.
Guy who doesn't normally get to touch the ball gets to touch the ball. I'm happy.
Were you going to say something?
No, I said impressive.
Yeah, that's impressive. And now, and this is, we're flat into homerism here on the Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac moment.
SicEm365's Richard Carr Cadillac Moment with Central Texas High School Football is sponsored by Cadillac, where exceeding expectations is the standard.
I mentioned Kavion Gaither, the 2-point conversion in overtime to beat China Spring. He had the bobble snap, picked it up and threw it to Bronche Miles right where Craig was at the end zone to win the game against China Spring. It could be Kadarius Marshall in that tackle behind the line of scrimmage to preserve the victory against Ellison 27-20. But Parker Allman from Gatesville intercepted a Gerald pass with 1:38 to go in the game to beat Gerald 35-28 and clinch the number 4 seed in District 9 4A Division II. And now they get to play Carthage. No.
Congratulations.
They get to play Carthage.
Yeah, well,
his uncle was here in the studio the other day.
Oh, really?
Parker Allman's uncle was Chris Allman.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Chris Allman's a good dude. Anything else, guys?
He's a jobber, but whatever.
He's a what?
It's a wrestling thing.
That's right. He and Craig, they could go on and on and on. And with Zach Burke as well when it comes to that.
I think we should host on SicEm365. I've got the fantasy show. We should get Craig doing a wrestling show.
I got a passion for it, and right now I do not.
Yeah.
I am not as in tune with it. I follow along, but I have not watched nearly as much, primarily because of football season and just a lack of interest.
We could do like historical stuff.
Yeah, historically I could delve into a lot of different things. So yeah, that's something that I remember at the other place trying to think of like ideas and stuff, and that was proposed as maybe an idea, and I just didn't really think too much of it at the time. But that's something that I would be open-minded to if my passion returned a little bit for the current stuff.
When will it return?
I don't know. It's got to get better first. I mean, I'm not gonna.
So it's the product right now that's not.
The WWE product is terrible in my opinion. There's not enough great moments and stories to hold my attention for 2 hours in the case of a SmackDown, 3 hours in the case of a Raw. There's like 8 hours of WWE content each week, and like getting 5 minutes of something that I actually enjoy out of that. I mean, I'm just not going to do that. And that's what a lot of wrestling fans still do. They just still force feed themselves because they love it, and that's great. But I'm not going to waste my time watching something that I don't even enjoy. AEW I'll watch more because that's only 2 hours a week. But, I mostly read rather than take it all in most of the time.
I'm trying to think of my favorite all-time wrestler. Paul, do you have one?
No.
Mine might be Wahoo McDaniel.
Wahoo McDaniel.
Played with the Miami Dolphins.
He's a great athlete.
He was a fantastic wrestler.
I think I was, in my the time I really watched when I was really young was when I would watch it. And I would say like Andre the Giant was always my favorite one. And part of that was just because he was in the Princess Bride. So like I'm watching him on wrestling and then I see the Princess Bride and he's in that movie and I was like, well, I mean, that's my favorite guy now because he was so big.
Yeah.
I remember being really, really sad when he died and not being able to kind of wrap my head around it just because I didn't understand Marfan syndrome and all that. But yeah, he was my favorite. And then the documentary about him that they did on HBO is one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. And it was so interesting and so good. So yeah, he was probably my favorite just because he was so different. And he's the guy who kind of helped unify the whole thing. It was this, I didn't realize it was kind of this mishmash of stuff before then.
Yeah, he was kind of, along with Hogan, like the big attraction when basically Vince McMahon bought up every other company's best talent and, monopolized the business for all intents and purposes, including TV deals and things like that. Vince is a nasty businessman, and back then he basically went the complete opposite way of what everybody did, where they respected each other's promotions and their territories, and they actually shared talent and would swap out because you could keep the lineups fresh for the fans. And then Vince Jr. came in and said, screw everybody, I'm going to go national, and bought up everybody, bought up all the competition, put others out of business, and he's been like the only guy really ever since then. But,
yeah, Ted Turner tried to take him on.
He just made too many mistakes. But that they were winning for 2-3 years and pretty easily, actually.
You know why he could now do the podcast? You could hear him, right?
Yeah.
He can.
By the way, my favorite was Bret Hart.
Yeah, that's why you should do it. Just start out historical. We can get people like Chris in here sometimes. You just talk about the good old days of wrestling, and then eventually, when it's cyclical, things are cyclical. It'll turn back around.
Craig knows this. My youngest brother Philip went to school at Randolph, where I did at least his last couple of 3 years of high school at Universal City Randolph in San Antonio, and one of his friends is Shawn Michaels. What was his real name?
Michael Hickenbottom.
Michael Hickenbottom.
That's a much better.
That was like
Shawn Michaels, a much better wrestling name.
Slightly. Michael Hickenbottom.
Watch out! Here he comes in the ring.
I mean, that was a friend of his. He was Shawn Michaels.
Bret Hart's arch rival in real life and in ring.
I should probably have said Farouk Ron Simmons because he was a
Florida State. Yeah, hell of a player.
Yeah.
He was on those early years of Bowden, right?
Yeah.
Defensive lineman?
Yeah, he was the first Bowden and one of the few people that has his number retired.
Okay. At Florida State?
Yeah.
Very, very good player. Very good player. Very good wrestler, too. For what he was required to do, he fit his role well.
I can't remember the last time that I happened to just jump into, like, even scanning the channels and seeing anything wrestling. Not that I did it. I just didn't do it. All right. When we come back, he is in Hawaii watching his son's team practice. Phil Bennett's son was back on staff with him at Arizona State. We'll hear from him what he saw or did not see well enough or not enough of when it comes to Baylor, TCU, and looking forward. Also today at 5:30, J.J. Joe from the quarterback's perspective. We've had him on a couple of times on Mondays. His thoughts about Baylor, the quarterback play, and much more. All of our segments are up on social media. Some of them are up on SicEm365.com in the premium section. This is SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI, right smack in the middle of Waco, kind of on the southern part of Waco, in the Central Texas marketplace, just off of I-35. Ideal MRI, what do? They help you find out what is more than just perhaps a bump or a bruise. Something that's much more deep inside of your muscle, your bone, or possibly ligament. Sometimes even more damage than just something that just doesn't feel good. It's hurting. There's pain. And your doctor says, hey, we need to get an MRI for you. Shoulder, knee, could be it could be anything, a broken bone. It could be in your foot, your ankle, or even somewhere else. Ideal MRI can help you with the MRI technology that they have. It is a phenomenal MRI machine. It's the big boy, just like you see in the large hospital systems. And if your doctor is smart, and he knows about what Ideal MRI can bring to the table, because you know what? They can help save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if you need an MRI. Every single time you go to MRI, Ideal MRI, an MRI will cost you $497 or less. What they've done is help you save money, a lot of money, and they do it the right way. It's very simple. IdealMRI.com. You can contact them. If you need an appointment, they'll do that for you. If you need something that's, sometimes you wait for an MRI and you're in the waiting room forever when it comes to the systems you have to go to, health systems, whatever. Ideal MRI, this is quick, it's easy, it's also painful sometimes to wait, and then it's hard to get inside that MRI machine. What I did in March was go and do that inside their facility. It was phenomenal. And again, let's continue to stress, save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on bumps and bruises, and even something deeper than that, muscles, bones, and ligaments. IdealMRI.com.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville, but we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, "Your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy," that's a bit harder. Instead, try something like, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And then if they refuse, you can say, "Well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state." Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Have you tried a do-it-yourself program to lose weight? You may not know that in a typical do-it-yourself program, a quarter of the weight you lose is due to muscle breakdown and loss. With COVID harming obese and overweight patients, being at ideal body weight is more important now than ever. Over 30 physicians in Central Texas, tired of seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves, opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed weight loss program that targets fat and spares muscle. The 4 Muscle-Wise locations have taken off over 19,000 pounds from Texas dieters in the last few years. The combination of coaching and weekly body composition analysis to target the fat loss are the keys to success. The coaches teach you how to eat and live a healthy lifestyle. Email SicEm365 at musclewisenutrition.com today, and the coaches will contact you about their free educational seminars. Do not wait. Email today and start MuscleWise at SicEm365 at musclewisenutrition.com.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Second and 10, handoff. There's Squirrel on the move inside the 20. That speed inside the 10. Touchdown!
This segment with former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett is sponsored by the Nitchie Group Insurance Company, where clients are more than just a policy number. See why thousands of Texans trust the Nitchie Group with their home, auto, benefits, and commercial insurance coverage. Call their Waco office to speak with an expert at 254-420-3900 or visit them online at tngins.com. Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour, we have heard from Dave Aranda. We've also heard earlier today on the latest in the updates with Moon Urson and Dee Dee Richards, basketball players at Baylor, with Kim Mulkey and the players, and much more. And now we're joined by Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, who is in Hawaii, as Sam Bennett is a part of the University of Hawaii staff, and you're down there enjoying, I guess, life about as much as you possibly can, Coach.
Well, between this soon-to-be 2-year-old granddaughter and getting to watch Sam and Todd, Graham, and them practice, it's been a fun day.
I bet it has. And a fun day is not how you describe what happened to Baylor on Saturday. What in the world did you see?
Well, first of all, they just didn't come out with much spark, and for whatever reason. I don't know what the cause was. Obviously, when you give up almost 7 yards a carry, that's demoralizing. And then offensively, we couldn't match it. And then the 67-yard punt return, it got away very fast. And then once we settled down the second half, I thought it was rather remarkable that we got it within 10 points. It was just too little too late.
Phil, you've been at games where the team hasn't had fire before, and it's not something that you can just all of a sudden turn the switch. They had some in the fourth quarter. What's the key to getting it back, or do you sometimes just have to know it's not today?
Well, that's easy to say, Paul, but you prepare. I know Dave and those guys, they were preparing those guys to play, and that's a rivalry game. And I think that early on they had some things, like I said, that didn't go their way, and they sort of lost their way. And I'm going to tell you something. The transition when you get down 30-0, that is tough. And then they found a niche the second half, and actually got back in the game. The thing I'm sure Dave and them are saying right now is, hey, we won the second half. We did win the second half, and definitely won the fourth quarter. And we just got to get out. We got to get started and play better early.
Coach, you didn't have to deal with this as much during your time at Baylor, but this defense, they've kind of had to carry the weight for this team, and it seemed as though after that punt return, even the defense, which has been the soundest of all areas, was even kind of dipping their heads a little bit. How frustrating can that be when one unit seems to be producing and the others aren't really playing complementary football?
Well, listen, it's human nature. You keep thinking, how long can we hold them, or how, there's been times it's been flip-flop. How much can we score? Mm-hmm. Can we match their scores? And that's where your leadership comes in. That's where guys who have played and you keep pressing and you keep the hammer down. And right now, let's be honest. And once again, there's been a lot of things transitional in the program this year. With COVID, with players in and out, playing this week, nothing the next week. I just don't think it's been a smooth ride, and it's been hard for everybody to get on the same page.
Yeah, and he's a first-year head coach. You have been in the business a long, long time, and you had to have your first ever job as a head coach. Is that something that is overwhelming at times?
Sure it is. You used to be able to go in and lock yourself in the defensive staff room, say, okay, this is what I've got to do. But when you're managing a whole program, think about this now, Smoke. You've got not just the players, you've got the coaches, you've got the administrators, you've got the alumni. Every word out of your mouth becomes taken to verbatim of what you're saying and how you're handling things. So, I know Dave's more than capable, but it's just hasn't gelled for them to this point. And, I think that you can look at a lot of things. I mean, like you talked about defensively, they've had some good moments. But, when you're giving up, I say this again, finally break down, give up 7 yards, and then the offense starts running the ball. We had a back almost get 100 yards, and it was just too little too late. It is tough.
How difficult is it for a staff to decide to change quarterbacks when it's not an injury situation?
Well, the hardest thing for a head coach to do is do what's best for the whole and not the few. And so when you're looking at your team, you've got to say, you know what, whoever, this guy gives us the best opportunity for us to win. And sometimes if somebody's just in a rut, I remember one time when I was at SMU, when we started getting a little bit better, I had one of my quarterbacks, he got in a little rut. And I told him, I said, you're not benched, but I'm going to play the other guy. And it was amazing what that transpired over a game and a half, that he sort of shared reps, how much better he got.
Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, with us on SicEm365 Radio. In the case of Charlie, I asked Dave Aranda earlier today about what does, obviously he has a belief in Charlie, and there's a lot of times right now that's an easy target, or he's an easy target, or Larry Fedora is an easy target. But I also asked him about the progression of the younger guys, Bohannon and Zeno, who at times have flashed what they can do. But isn't, Phil, the commitment to a guy who's your starting quarterback more than a couple of flash plays they've made in their career?
Well, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Charlie has won, think about Matt Rule. I mean, Matt went, once Charlie became the guy, they went from a 1-11 to a 7-6 or whatever it was when they beat Vanderbilt. He gave them stability. Dave sees the same thing. Larry sees the same thing. And I just believe that you said it. I mean, the quarterback is always going to be the lightning rod. But there's so many intangible parts that you talk about. Offensive line, you look at running back. Can we run the ball? Do we have our receivers catching the ball? Now, we had some guys once we got going, I mean, we finally, offensively, we look like guys we could throw and catch the ball. Wouldn't you agree that second half?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's almost as if Charlie performs better when it's a little bit frenetic.
Well, I know this. It doesn't take me long to remember the Big 12 championship game. I thought he nearly willed Baylor to win the game with the way he competed. Now, he had some good players too. I say this again. I mean, but also, this is the first time that I've seen Baylor all year that for a first half they were lost. No direction. Just sort of were sitting on their hands waiting for something to happen, and TCU came out ready to play.
Yeah, it seemed like TCU at Floyd Casey and even at McLean Stadium, that's Gary's. I know. I hate to bring him up. He's had success in Waco. He's had success in Waco. He's had success in Austin. He's had success a lot of different places. Have you ever?
Maybe he needs to schedule more I-35 games.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly. Phil, you've been on teams, and obviously with the 2016 and even 15 team had distractions. How much can what they dealt with initially early in the week with the players, they across the board, everybody said that Tuesday's practice, in fact, a couple of coaches said it's the best one they've ever been a part of. How much can you get high and yet hard to sustain it for a game in 3 or 4 days?
Oh, you can lose it in a heartbeat. You mentioned 2016. One of the most frustrating games I was ever involved in was that year. Art was gone. The players wanted to, you remember the black jersey deal?
Yeah.
It was a bunch of BS. And I was so angry because it became a focus, and we go out there and TCU tore us up. because we were distracted. We weren't ready to play, and they were. And they very similar to what happened, on Saturday. I mean, your mindset and the will to prepare to win is huge in getting it transferred to the field on Saturday. Trust me. And it was obvious that we weren't ready to play.
All right, so you have never been afraid to say or speak your mind. You've been a head coach where you've had your staff, and then you've been an assistant coach, coordinator, where you've been on somebody else's staff. What can meetings be like the day after what happened Saturday?
Well, one or two things happen. And I've always, everybody thought, well, you're always chewing somebody's butt out. One of the things that I've always made clear to my players is this is a we thing. If you're not successful, then I'm part of that problem. And I think players, and I know Dave, I haven't talked to him about it, and I'm sure his staff, Larry, it's a we thing. And you don't go in there and you just don't start, ripping people about this. Now, you can be demanding, but you have to let those guys know, you know what? We didn't win because I didn't do a good job. You didn't do a good job. And this is where we're at right now. And I don't think you sugarcoat it. I think that I remember that year we played I did such a bad job against West Virginia. We had some injuries. I made mistakes on who I played and how we did things. And I told them from that point on, I said, that's on me. Let me work through this. And by the end of the year, I thought we were probably the best team in the conference. And I think most of the players would agree that if I'd have walked in there and said, hey, KJ, hey, Joe, you were bad. That doesn't work. They want to see that you're involved with them. And I'm sure that staff is doing that right now. It's easy to point the finger, but you also have to make corrections, and you got to reinforce the things that they did good. I don't care what the score was at halftime or when it was 30-0. There were some guys on that field for Baylor that had done some good things. You got to find those things, and that's part of managing a team and a program.
It's interesting you bring up that year, the year 2012. That season was so unique in that you guys it bottomed out. I mean, completely the team looked like they bottomed out at one point and were listless and couldn't kind of find their way. And then all of a sudden, just beating people up and really aggressive. That kind of, I thought about that on the way home the other night after the game, thinking that, this team is, the school has been in this kind of place before, and there is no real rock bottom if you have games left, is there?
No,
yeah.
No. Listen, that year, and listen, I say this, it was different. That year we had some, Mike Hicks, we had 4 or 5 guys defensively. We weren't very deep to begin with. We played Sam Houston. We had some guys get hurt. We go to West Virginia, then we go to Texas. And listen, offensively, we were ginning. Offense was not the problem. We just weren't very good. And I had to find the niche of what we needed to do to get better. And then we went on that run, beat number 1. And then I tell you, one of the best games we played was the final game of the year and y'all remember this, was Oklahoma State when Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator. I mean, we jumped all over them and then held it off to beat them and then go beat a very good UCLA team. So, no, there's games to play. And they will hopefully, like I said, these guys are going to buy in to what these coaches are saying, and you're going to see a team that learns. You always have a saying, let's don't let this team beat us twice. Let's learn from this game, and let's get better. Let's get better than this.
Even though it was on the offensive side of the football, you brought up that game with Texas in 2012. That's the one that I think it was 56-50. Glasgow may have fumbled. Yeah. He fumbled near midfield. Johnny Jefferson against Texas when you had to go like 7 quarterbacks deep and play Lynx Hawthorne, and then Jefferson went Wildcat, and he had a run that he was about to break and fumbled.
Oh, he would have won the game.
Yeah, it would have.
Yeah. Or even Bryce Petty at Oklahoma State. When he slipped and, fell
down.
Yeah.
But the one that year, the one that got me was the TCU game. 3 times we were raining like crazy. We were inside the 5-yard line, and we fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
And they couldn't make a play on us offensively the whole game. Their quarterback was active. We played good. We made one mistake. But that was a team, once again, I say this, losing that Texas game was devastating. We gave up very little, but if you remember, we regrouped, we got together, and Art's last game was a masterpiece against North Carolina.
Yep, it sure was.
What was that TCU monsoon game like from your perspective? Not the game itself, but just being in that environment and the rain and just how
never stopped.
Yeah,
it never stopped the whole night. And you know what I remember vividly is that we were outplaying them. I mean, they could not move. Boykins, we sort of had his number from what we were doing in 14 and 15, and we had played. They had a punt return, and we had fumbled the ball, and we stopped them inside the 20 2 or 3 times, and I could tell they were getting frustrated. And then we ended up, we ran like something happened. Chris Johnson was our quarterback.
Yep.
He wasn't ready for the ball. It was 1st and goal at the 5. We're going to win the game, even with a field goal. And we end up, the ball snapped too early. They get the ball, and the clock, and we stop them, and the clock runs out, and then they beat us in double overtime.
Yeah.
Phil, I can tell you that was where it kind of started for, I know at least me, and we kind of joke about this all the time, but anytime that we go to TCU to do something, every university kind of has a thing. TCU's is everything is just a little harder to do there than it should be anywhere else. Like if we need to get into a place at 7:30, they'll tell us, no, you can't get in until 8. The media room is just some big cavern under the stadium and it echoes and you can't hear anything. It was cold and rainy that day. Everyone from Waco was just pissed off all day.
Yeah.
We're just furious all day long.
Yeah.
So it just was kind of like the perfect circle of angry.
You know, and if you remember now, we had beaten a very good Oklahoma State team the week before, and we knew that Jared was hurt. Jared got hurt versus Oklahoma on a cheap shot, and Chris comes in, throws a couple of deep balls. We had held Oklahoma State. I think they were 0 for 17 on 3rd down. You remember that, Smokey? And we had played lights out. They had Washington. They had the kid that's the quarterback with the Steelers, and we won that game. And we were just hanging on. If we could have won and I think Chris got knocked out of the TCU or first drive of the Texas game.
Yeah, he did on a little play on the left on the far side.
Yeah, on a touchdown. He fumbled, and they ran it back.
And he threw those two. He threw a dart to like Katie Cannon at Oklahoma State. That's the game you're talking about where he came in because Jared got hurt. That was just And
I don't think we had won there. If I remember right, I was preaching to the kids since 1939. I don't think Baylor had won in Stillwater since 1939, or either 39 years, something with 39.
Well, speaking of Stillwater, Coach, what did you think of the first loss of the year for the Cowboys against Texas? A lot of personal miscues for the Cowboys.
Well, I thought that Sam just sort of willed them. I mean, they gave up plays defensively. Texas did, but they were able to outscore them. And I tell you, it was a shootout. It was a Big 12 game, and I think that. Like we talked about, they're a capable team. They played better than they probably had all year. Be interested to see how they play this week.
All right, Phil, a couple more things, and I will ask you about Sam and also Hawaii. But the schedule doesn't stop. Nobody, Baylor's 1-3. They got things that aren't going well. The schedule doesn't stop, and they have back-to-back road games against 2 teams that hate them from last year, Iowa State and Texas Tech on the road. What's that like when things aren't going well, but the schedule doesn't stop and you don't have a chance to breathe?
Well, you know what? You get back-to-back. That's what you do. And I know those guys, Dave and that staff, will tell them, as I said earlier, this is who we are right now. This isn't who we have to be. Our record's not going to change until we change it. And we've got to have each other's back. We've got to be together. There's 3 phases of the game, and this is a we thing. So let's get this thing, and let's get our focus, our mind. Hopefully we won't have any interruptions with COVID or any other injuries. and we can get this thing back on track. And people say, well, that's easier said than done. Absolutely, it is. But trust me, I've seen it happen, been involved with it too many times. It's just amazing. The mind's a powerful thing when you think you can do something. And I would say get back to back and let's go to Ames, which we won there. We won at Lubbock, and let's do this.
By the way, Joe Williams is a guest on our show tomorrow. I'll never forget when you first arrived, you went JUCO, KJ Morton, Joe Williams. You needed their help. You also brought in others, but how much? And I know they were tough. I mean, they struggled early on, but how much did those two guys mean to your program that they were there for you that first year?
Hey, KJ and Joe are winners. I mean, they're winners. Meach Goodson is a winner.
Yeah.
I mean, I told Art, we went out, we found guys, and I went to California. I remember one time I said some awful things to KJ Morton. He told me that he thought his teacher was going to flunk him because she didn't like him because of his hair. And how do you think that went over? my wife, we were in California actually on vacation, and she goes, I've never heard you talk to anybody that bad. But KJ, what he helped us. He was, and Joe, Meach, and I'm gonna tell you something. A quick story. Our TCU game when we beat them that game, that I think it was 40-39, whatever it was, when Mike made the pick.
Yep.
Both those kids had to be put on ice after the game. They had got there like the day, or 2 weeks or a week before the season, and both of them played about 90 snaps. It was crazy.
What a win that was, and probably was able to kickstart many things for you, even though you had been to a bowl game the year before, no question about it. All right, so you're there with Sam, watching him. He was a part of staff when you were at Arizona State. Your thoughts about what he's doing and how much that relationship is cool that he does what you did for so many years.
Sam almost aced the ACT his sophomore year at Highland Park. And I told him, of course, his mother was in the medical field and my late wife. And I said, you're never going to coach. You're not going to have to live like this. And here I am coming to Hawaii watching. But I watched him practice today. He's got it. He's a great coach. He's better than I was. He's got better patience. He's a great teacher. And I'm just really proud of him. He's a great father, got a wonderful wife, and just very, I was out there today, and it was you've known me a long time, Dave. I mean, it was sort of nostalgic. I watched him coach those kids and watch them respond to him, and he's got a bright future. And of course, Todd is a great coach, dear friend of mine. They won a game, had a rough second game, and hopefully they can get after the New Mexico Lobos Saturday.
Thank you, Phil. We appreciated the commitment from you and also the fact you're in Hawaii and gave us the time. We appreciate it. Have fun. Enjoy it.
Thank you, guys.
That's Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator on many things. By the way, I just popped this up, Craig, on the Randy Masters, former Baylor commit.
Yeah, he decommitted like 3 days ago, and he has now found his new school. He's going to Cincinnati, which is a flavor of the season school pick for sure. I'd imagine Cincinnati will likely have their highest rated recruiting class probably ever this year based on their on-the-field performances so far. So it's a trendy school to go to. And I don't know what his leans there are other than just that they're trendy at the moment. But, Randy Masters, where is he? I don't even know what high school he's at anymore after leaving Shadow Creek.
I'm not sure
wherever he is, a wide receiver who was a part of Baylor's class up until about 3-4 days ago, he will be instead headed to Cincinnati.
I'm going to try to find his feet. Go ahead, Carl.
I wonder what happens to that recruiting class once Luke Fickell gets a job.
Well, that's probably not on his mind so much right now, I would imagine. But, that's something that I would be very leery of if I was anybody committing to Cincinnati. Congrats to the young man. I could care less where he goes to college. It's his life. But, if I'm in that position of Cincinnati's really pressing me hard, I would be, how do you guarantee me Luke Fickell's going to be here for more than a few more months? And I don't know how they could guarantee that.
The only way I think Luke Fickell is there more than a few more months is if there's really no firings this year because of COVID-19.
Yeah, which, it remains to be seen. We have
what happened in basketball. I mean, who got fired in basketball? Hardly anybody. Only
Yeah.
people who made ethnic slurs. They're the ones who
had some big controversy.
Yeah, they're the ones who
so I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of bad teams out there, and I'm sure there will be some more than there are more than zero moves made this offseason, and there's been discussion about, even a school as big as UT perhaps making a move, although that's now cooled down immensely with a couple of wins in a row. But, that's going to be interesting to see if I don't know who would need a coach, but I would have to imagine a big program, Luke Fickell would have to be at the top of the list.
What if it's Michigan?
Yeah, actually, that would probably be a really good spot for him. I don't know. He's got Ohio State ties. I don't know how he feels about that, but Harbaugh's on his way out.
Auburn might be in the market for a coach.
You're right. Auburn and Michigan are two very good candidates for the big schools looking at head coaches this year. Michigan after Saturday, that was just inexcusable. Losing to Michigan State, that was inexcusable. And Auburn has 2 wins on their schedule they should not have that have been gifted to them by officials. So. They're not that good either.
They beat the hell out of LSU this weekend.
They did, but I mean, LSU kind of sucks this year. Honestly, they do.
And Michigan has the perfect way to get out from under Harbaugh. All they have to do is be like, when those NFL teams call you, answer the phone.
Yeah.
And then nobody's fired, nobody's resigning in disgrace. It's just the NFL came at him with too much that he wanted to go back.
Yeah, he could not beat Ohio State, and I doubt they beat Ohio State this year. But, I mean, the other losses are what pile up. You can be the head coach at Texas and lose to Oklahoma to an extent, but it's when you start losing to TCU regularly and Baylor and, everybody's getting their shots in. And that's Michigan State's a rival, but still, that's a bad Michigan State team. They have no business beating Michigan
But when you lose to Ohio State and to Michigan State, and you're Michigan's coach, that's a deadly combination.
Now, for Michigan to hire Luke Fickell, they'd have to do something that they normally would not do, which is hire a graduate of Ohio State University.
Yeah.
Well, no,
there's those ties.
There is that. No question about it. I saw some back and forth. A couple of people who cover Ohio State and Michigan, and he can't recruit Ohio if he goes to Michigan. I don't
know about that.
Who knows?
I don't know the territory up there, but
254 in the text message. Love Coach Bennett's story. Oldest son saw him after a big comeback game and asked him, "Coach, what happened?" And Coach Bennett says, "Blanking Joe Williams."
That's a lot of people said that, but in not in as nice of a way.
Yeah.
Other ways.
5:30 is the
DBs used to get so roasted by people.
He's going to join us tomorrow at 4:00. He's actually in town and is involved in training various athletes as they try to move on to the next level.
And so I got to clarify that. Roasted by people, not by players, by the fans.
Yes.
The fans used to go crazy about defensive backs.
Yeah, Joe Williams and KJ Morton. KJ Morton had some huge plays and moments, especially against Texas, picked off some passes. Joe Williams, I think, had a pick six against somebody that was a big one, maybe against Texas as well. But those guys, that's all they had. And they went JUCO, and they found him. And they ended up, they at times struggled. Remember Ryan Reed used to take a beating. Turned out to be one of the best corners they've ever had.
I got to ask this question, at least on Harbaugh. He has won 10, 10, 8, 10, and 9. Now, he's taken at least 3 losses a year, and last year they lost 4. At one point, they were 8-5 a couple years ago. They're 2-1 now. I mean, what would it take, you think, for them to say, you know what, this isn't even worth it anymore?
It's a lot of money, man.
Look,
it's a lot of. It's a huge buyout.
Texas pushed Mack Brown out of the way because recruiting was starting to fall off, and he was losing like 2 or 3 games a year. And then we
won
saw
a
what
national
happened.
title.
But you basically had in hand 9 to 10 wins every year for as long as you wanted. As long as you wanted, you had 9 to 10 wins, and they would kill for that right now. Although this week's a much more positive week. Their last couple weeks have been. But
you would think Mack Brown would have been about as almost Teflon as anybody because they had won their first national title. It took 35 years. But then the Garrett Gilbert, it didn't work out. And then the quarterbacks of other teams that they didn't recruit, that kind of eventually tore them apart.
What happened, and it's what happens a lot of places, is you go a long time without winning one, then you win one, and then everybody thinks that it's that easy.
Yeah.
And they forgot, like in Texas, they forgot that it was 35 years.
Well, think about
totally
Oklahoma.
Forgot.
As good as they have been now for 20 years since Stoops arrived in '99, they won his second year, and they've been in the hunt numerous times. But winning a national title, what Saban's done at Alabama, what Sweeney might be doing at Clemson, which remains to be seen. It's not easy to do.
No, I would say I know we got to go, but I would say from the Oklahoma perspective, you've had 3 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. You've been in the playoffs and you've no-showed. So it's like, it's the frustration of not winning a national championship is one thing. The frustration when you've had time after time after time over the last 20 years to add number 8 and you can't that's where the frustration is.
Well, Tom Osborne went through that for a long time. Bobby Bowden did as well, and then they won it in a couple of bunches, right? When we come back, J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback and also the color analyst for Baylor radio broadcast, he'll break down the quarterback play and what he sees next on SicEm365 Radio. It's almost Christmas. Alan Samuels, Ted Teague, and his staff raring and ready to go for the holidays. Black Friday pricing, not just on Black Friday, but all month long during the huge Black Friday sales event in November at Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Special incentives, financing, 0%, no payments, 90 days on almost everything. Your Ram headquarters, an amazing selection of Rams, and if you haven't been in a Ram, then you're missing out on the opportunity to see what they have because it's amazing. And also, how about the brand new Jeep for Christmas, a Grand Cherokee, or come test drive the Swiss Army knife of SUVs, the Jeep Gladiator, the most amazing Jeep ever. 0% on most cars, most Jeeps and Ram trucks, no payments for 90 days, giant inventory, Christmas season around the corner. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7, and personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less.
sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
All right, this 5 o'clock hour rolling along. Earlier, Phil Bennett. Also, the conversations we had with Dave Aranda, Dee Richards, Kim Mulkey on many things, everything. High school football players of the week. Cowboys last night losing. We'll touch on that in a second as they drop to 2-6. And now, J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback and radio color analyst for Baylor football, with us on SicEm365 Radio. J.J., as you watch this offense and you see them struggle and how they cannot seem to get off to a quick start, what do you see and what are suggestions if you had them?
Well, man, hey, well, Smoke, I appreciate you guys having me on. I hate that it's on after a TCU loss. I tell you that.
I bet you do. Yeah.
Man, I think my eyes are not very different than yours and probably many fans. I think offensively, it has to be coordinated. You have to have continuity, and everything starts up front. I don't care what anybody says, and I know the hot topic is Charlie, and we'll get to Charlie, I'm sure. But everything starts up front in offense. I'll tell you. I mean, a quarterback, his best friends are his linemen, and if that group is not yet ready for prime time, it's going to be hard for anything to get accomplished, and it's going to make the whole offense look, I guess you could say, a little bit pedestrian, and that's what we're seeing right now. Is I think up front we're just not ready, and then when the linemen do get it and they do well, then you have your normal snafus or issues at different positions. So it starts up front, man. We're just not there yet. Those kids are just now getting together and getting. I guess there's some continuity between them.
JJ, you mentioned that continuity. Part of it was they were rotating linemen in and out. Xavier Newman played center and left guard,
right?
And that kind of seemed to hurt everything, and that they couldn't get any continuity just within the actual game, much less translating it from practice. As a quarterback, when you've got to swap centers almost series to series, how hard is that?
Number one, I'd have a conversation with Coach if I'm switching centers. We were always under center, so I never had to deal with switching centers unless the guy got hurt. Now, I had Pope, I had Barron, and generally a guy would get hurt or something, you have to swap a center. But when you're under center, you get used to a guy's snap, and it's a lot of stuff that goes on. He makes a lot of calls, but I did see that, and I think they're just looking for a group that works. I think part of it too may be trying to keep guys fresh, but I really think at this point they're looking for a group that works. And they're just trying to find that five. I thought toward the end that five kind of worked good together. I think Newman was at guard, Moore was at center at that time. So it's just they're looking for something. They're searching. These guys just I hate to go back to it, man, but when you have a new guy calling plays and you guys don't have spring, so much gets done in the offseason in spring. It's hard for just me to explain to just people who may not have been through it that the spring, especially when you have a new offense. I remember going from in 89 to 90 when we went from, I think, F.A. Dry, Coach Cotton Davidson were kind of the quasi-coordinators, and we went to Reed. We had spring, and everything just felt like it was like slow, but the terminology was different. Just getting the plays together, getting the different concepts, understand all that stuff happens in the spring, and they didn't have it. And it's just like people say, well, they had Zoom. Well, I can tell you about Zoom. Zoom is about as good as it is on a piece of paper. You got to take that stuff to the field. And they didn't have it. And when you don't have that, then you're off all this time. Then you go into a season, and you're going to ask somebody to play a Big 12 schedule with the new offensive coordinator and offensive linemen that are in and out, you're going to get what we're seeing. What we're seeing is an offense that just isn't together yet, and it's going to take them a season. I mean, this is almost a redshirt season. I hate to say it offensively, but it might be a redshirt season if these guys keep going in and out.
So, JJ, what did you see from Charlie specifically? It seemed there were some throws there for him early he couldn't hit, and then obviously a tale of two completely different halves and games, really. I mean, the first three quarters, there was nothing to write home about, but all of a sudden you get some tempo and a big deficit, and here's this magical offense out of nowhere. What were your thoughts on the quarterback play Saturday?
We've been spoiled by Charlie in a sense. We've been spoiled around here because, I wrote an article in SicEm365 with you guys. I'm late on my article, by the way. So if you guys talk to Ashley, tell him it's coming. But anyway, Charlie, I said this in the postgame. Charlie is not an initiator. Charlie is a finisher. This offense desperately has needed the last few years people to initiate. We've relied on Charlie to finish because he has something in him that when the game is getting close and it's time to what I guess you could say go, that young man seems to go. I cannot explain what it is, but something happens, one or two good plays, but he is a finisher. What this offense needs is someone or some concept or some continuity that can get them through the patches of the game without Charlie having to be Superman. Charlie is not a Superman quarterback. We had one of those. He won the Heisman. So to me, Charlie struggled early. He struggled. I think he would tell you he's not playing to the standard he wants to play. He missed throws that Charlie's been very accurate. I was looking at his stats. He completed 64.5% last year. He's at about 60. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but you see a missed RPO to Atkinson that he never hardly missed. So he's not where we want him to be. Charlie is in a new scheme. He doesn't appear to be as elusive as he used to be because I think that offense called for him to do that. This one doesn't seem to call for Charlie to move and create as much. So with Charlie, I think in this new scheme, he's learning the new scheme, and with the lack of continuity in front of him, and I'm going to tell you, I look out there on the edge, and I said at the end of the game, they just need to start playing different dudes because nobody's getting separation, and that's just fact. And I'm not saying that to be mean to a young man, but I mean, coach puts you in the game to be good at something. If you're not good at something, he has to look for somebody who can be good at something, right?
Yeah.
So I saw some young men came in. I know TCU backed off a little bit. But I saw a few young men come in that game late in the game that I said might as well start playing.
Squirrel
because
Williams.
Those kids, Squirrel.
Yusuf
Terry. Jalen Ellis. He didn't get a ball, but I'm going to tell you, Jalen Ellis was running over my 4 or 5 different times. I mean, he was just running open. It was like he's at a track meet. Wow. And they just weren't, Charlie didn't see him. So I think at some point, the fastest way, Smoke, and Paul, to get guys who may not be performing to perform is to put other guys in that start producing some magic. And I'll tell you right away, that guy that you're counting on and is not getting it done, he's going to do one, two things. He's going to shrink or he's going to step up. And usually a guy who has some metal in him is going to step up and say, hey, he's scoring touchdowns. Let me go score a touchdown.
JJ, did you ever have, and I don't remember exactly because I obviously watched Baylor football and Southwest Conference football, whatever, but were you ever taken out just to be able to have a chance to take a deep breath when things were going a little bit too fast?
I would say my senior year, and it was really because I was a little banged up. My senior year, we started out pretty well. We started like 4-2. And then I hurt my shoulder against U of H, and I was still playing, but I mean, it was not good because I hurt my actual throwing shoulder, and I wasn't even throwing during the week. And we got to the TCU game. Actually, it was a TCU game. I hate to say it. And coach said, well, we're going to determine game time what we're going to do, whether we're going to start. At that time, it was Lamont Moore or you. And I was kind of fine because I knew I wasn't healthy. But, it's like a competitor, though. On game day, the adrenaline starts going. You say, man, I can go, coach. So I did not start that game. And really, I think it was Coach wanted to see what Lamont could do and to see if he could spur because we had kind of got stale. We ended up losing to TCU anyway. And I actually ended up playing that game. I came in. I didn't start it. I came in and played. So I would say that's probably the only time in my senior year that I could have started because I ended up playing most of the game, but Coach kind of took me out and to say, hey, look, let's see if we can see if Lamont can kind of help get us started, and we didn't, and we got behind, but it can work sometimes. I'm not a big fan of it, but it can work.
My real concern for Charlie in that game wasn't just that he wasn't playing up to his own standards, it was just his physical well-being, and that eventually there's going to be some hits that kind of last for him.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I get concerned about that for Charlie, but he's done better this year, and I look at it like this. I said this earlier. Charlie is Charlie, and you kind of got to let him play how he plays. Because he only, I think, knows really one good way to play. And if you want that level, it's kind of like what I call it by Michael Irvin theory. So, and I know that's hard, but I'm a Cowboy fan, unfortunately. Yeah. When Michael Irvin was at his best, he was the wild man off the field, on the field. He played a certain way, yapping all the time. He was just this bravado guy. And then when he went through and got in all that trouble, he came back and he was tame. He was never even close to the same player. Not that Charlie's like that. I'm just saying Charlie, to me, is a guy that he just plays what I call at-risk football. That means he sometimes is going to get to going, and you start cringing like, oh, Charlie, and then that's just the way he plays. And you kind of got to let him go and say, hey, look, be careful, but you go do you. That's what you got to do with Charlie.
JJ, do you think, and I know you probably don't know exactly, but I'm just wondering, with the situation that happened with Lovett and Ebner last week, do you think that had any carryover, and is that something that you worry about at all, or do you think that they probably got that cleaned up? And we heard Dave Aranda say something really positive about Treston Ebner today, and the fact that he was, owning it up to the players' performances after Saturday, while the coaches were owning up to their own performances. But do you think that's sort of an over and done with thing, or is that something that can kind of linger in a locker room?
I think as far as as it relates to the issues with the team, it's over. Meaning, like, those guys probably got in front of their teammates, had to apologize. They got their numbers taken away, their single digits. So I think as far as that goes, it's over. But it did put something in the culture and the fabric of this team. The guys are cool with Tristan. Don't get me wrong. I believe they're cool with Tristan. I believe they're cool with Lovett. But I think that instance sent a message to the guys below them. Those guys are seniors. It sent a message to the juniors, the sophomores, the freshmen, the redshirt freshmen. And shoot, I think now we got some redshirt freshmen, whatever the new. I think it sent a message that this season is over.
Wow. Yeah, and once you lose that edge, right, it's really difficult. They need someone, maybe instead of them creating a play, it's almost like they need somebody they play to, like, throw up on themselves that creates a play.
Yeah, and I don't want to, look, I mean, I respect what those young men said. I don't want to come across as negative because I understand who I am and all that. But I just want to say, when something happens, I think Coach Rule created a culture here of it's us, we're together, we fight. Remember, these guys went one. A lot of these guys went 1-11. Mm-hmm. So for two of your leaders who both, I think, went through that. I'm hoping.
Yeah, they did.
They were freshmen. Yep.
Yeah, to get 3 games in and then that story come out. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I can just imagine. And it sticks with you. And I think we saw it. I mean, I think a TCU game, which, really, we really needed, pretty much we got all hands back on deck for the most part. And this team was listless for 3 quarters almost. Mm-hmm. And you can't tell me that, don't get me wrong, I think everybody is cool with them and their teammates and their cut for them. But when you send that message, the first thing I'm thinking if I'm a sophomore on that team is, dang, man, we They went 1-11, and they didn't bet. They bailed it out. So I mean, it's just so that's why I think now, it's going to be. I mean, this is why you pay Coach Aranda his money, right here.
Yep.
Is because he has to get this team back, however, by any means necessary. I think it went a long way by what they did at the end of the game, but I think what you do is you start playing some guys who I think they started showing you late. Those young men showed you, hey, man, I'm out here. I'm trying to make my name, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start playing them, and then that'll bring the older guys back. That's what a team is like. Sometimes you need the younger guys to help the older guys realize these are precious moments, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You need help. I mean, they all work together. And I think he can do it, but this is why you pay him that money.
JJ, one more question, unless the others have one as well. But you played the game. Playing quarterback is not just how pretty you throw the ball or how athletic you might be or how multidimensional you might be. Isn't there much more behind the scenes of what coaches also see? Practice habits, not suggesting the others don't have it. Commitment, film work, meetings, all of that. Something about that as well, not just how you might throw the ball on the sideline or in a game whenever you play?
Oh, yeah. Coaches see, man. Coaches know everything. I've got 3 boys. I had 2 that played high school sports. One's playing D3 ball in Sherman. And I've been part of, kids maybe not playing as much as you want them to. And I look over and to my wife, whatever, and say, baby, we're not, this coach is with them all the time. And that's the thing. Coaches see everything. There's not many coaches I know of who have any modicum of success that they're not trying to play the best player possible. And so it involves a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's off the field stuff that can keep you from playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if a guy's not getting in or he's not getting his chance, it could be one or two things. It could be one, they don't think yet he's ready to bear the what we call the mental side of it. You got to be able to bear the mental and the physical side of it, especially depending on what position you're talking about. But I think in all circumstances, you got to be able to handle the mental part that comes along with being a D1 player that's relied on play after play, game after game. And then the next thing is sometimes a coach also understands. And just to put it out there, say Charlie. If he pulls Charlie, if a coach makes a decision to pull Charlie, he better be 110% sure.
Yep.
Because the guy that comes in after him, it's a bunch of pressure. It's like I'm not calling Charlie Tom Brady, but it's kind of like trying to follow Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if that guy comes in and he's just like maybe 25% better than what the guy's playing, it's not enough, my man.
JJ,
you can do that at right guard, but you can't do it at quarterback.
Yeah,
and they have.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Hey, very enlightening. I thought you could help maybe put a bow on it, and obviously they have a lot to work on, a lot of things to do. Who knows what happens this Saturday's game is going to be a tremendous challenge against a really good team at Iowa State, and they're all mad and pissed off about last year's loss. So that ought to be interesting as well.
To JJ's point, I didn't notice Jalen Ellis so much, but I'm glad that he mentioned Jalen getting out there. But Squirrel Williams, Yusuf Terry, Ben Sims, if you're looking for some bright spots from this weekend.
I forgot Ben had a great game.
Yeah, those 3 guys, and then throw in Jalen Ellis, whoever else. And, I mean, you got some pieces to work with and definitely some guys who push the others after this past weekend.
I'm with you guys, man. Hey, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you as always, man. Love it when you're on with us. JJ Joe, former Baylor quarterback and also radio color analyst with Baylor football broadcast as well. I had this question for Coach Aranda today. It's on the text line about the tempo of the offense, plays being how they get to the, from the press box to the sideline to the field. And I was going to ask him about that because that's also something with a staff, even though some of these guys have been in the business a long, long time. If that's not at times an issue as well, is the pipeline of communications, how quickly that's being the cohesiveness of that as well.
I did feel like they slowed it down on that last drive when they were zooming it down the field, and all of a sudden they got to I don't remember what it was, but it was close to the red zone, in the red zone, what have you. And it was all of a sudden, it took them a minute and a half to get the next play in. I was like, what the hell? You just scored. You just came back, got the ball after a stop, and you're zooming down the field. You're in scoring territory, and now you're taking your time? What in the – and I understand,
TCU can throw a defensive look that messes you up, or it's about what the other team does as well. You can't just go call your own number all the time. But it was like, that was working, and you should have a play ready to go. And instead, it's like it took forever to get a play in there. And then what happened, I don't even remember what happened. I don't think they scored, though, on that drive.
They may have just run out of downs. That was
their last-ditch effort, was that they had to score there, and they didn't score. They just stalled out.
There was a throw to Snead down the left far side from where I am in the press box that, boy, he was open, and it was just slightly underthrown. Maybe some would think it was very – and, you never know. It's like you said, the pick by
Kalen
Barnes without the club on his hand.
If he runs that back, that's an even more interesting ball game for sure.
Yeah. All right, a couple of quick notes in college football. We didn't get a chance to talk about the Cowboys. Did we learn anything about them? They did play harder.
They played harder, yes.
But, that's kind of like, we played better in the second half.
More and more about the Eagles than we did about the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're not very – man, Carson Wentz – God, what is he thinking sometimes? Greg Sankey fined Dan Mullen $25,000. Mullen at times made a fool of himself. The Florida fan base loves him, though.
He's trying to incite a riot full of jorts-wearing mullet heads. So, I mean, I get it. I mean,
you're not allowed to talk about this story.
Greg Sankey is just trying to protect the safety of the world.
Yeah, that was pretty ugly, though. Those guys really did. I mean, they got into it big time, and Mullen was out there trying to clear it up and whatnot after the fact. But that was pretty big tussle there for a little while.
Jared Butler named to the Bob Cousy Award list. There's a few NFL notes. We'll get to that a little bit later on. I have some others who gave me your thoughts on TCU. We'll slowly get through that throughout the rest of the week. I haven't heard the update on Ole Miss tight end DeMarcus Thomas. He's fine. He was airlifted after he hit at practice today.
He was paralyzed, or he didn't have any feeling in his extremities, and they had to actually bring the helicopter out during practice. All the players were just around, had to watch their teammate get airlifted. Lane Kiffin was, I guess, from what I gathered, a little bit emotional and talking about it, but I saw like an hour ago where they provided an update, and apparently he's got feeling that's returning and all his limbs, and the doctors are optimistic, so that's great news.
All right. Also, if you did not hear some of the segments we had, started off, we have Dave Aranda one-on-one, Kim Mulkey, Dee Richards, and Alex Olson and Moon Urson on that collision that led to Dee losing. She was numb from her knees down, and she's getting better, but it's a process. Also, Kevin Hoffman, Greg Jacobs, Mart, and Crawford, they're unbeaten this year, both of them. Also, thanks to Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, for his time. How about that? Being on the phone with us, he's in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Appreciate him. And also J.J. Joe, former Baylor football player, quarterback, and also analyst. He's been really solid. JaMychal Hasty scored his first NFL touchdown over the weekend for San Francisco. He took a shot at the goal line from Bobby Wagner. Trent Williams, a former Lobo, was the offensive lineman right there with him that helped try to clear that spot for him. You heard our guest today. Thanks to Armstrong Sims. CJ, man, you guys are fantastic. It's fantastic. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke. Thanks to our incredible sponsors. Thank you for listening and watching. Whenever you do, however long it might be, on SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to SicEm365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.